This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
This episode of Filthy Casuals is brought to you by Movement Watches. Get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/filthycasuals.
Good morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games, hosted by three extremely kind and knowledgeable boys. My name is Tommy Dasilo. Thank you for joining us. We also, as always, have...
Ben Vanel, Tommy, it's great to be here and on the couch once more.
Hello, it's me, Adam Knox, the third wheel in this bicycle.
Now, you said on the couch.
Yep.
For the listeners, let's point out, you also are sitting on a couch.
What? Usually I'm on an armchair.
Usually you are. You're in your little old man armchair that you have at your house.
A little Danish recliner.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'm in a custom-built coffin that I need to rest in to recharge my powers.
And usually I'm just lying on the floor.
Yep.
Just draped over that big bearskin rug that you have in front of your TV.
Looking up at the mirror on the ceiling.
Naked as the day I was born. Episode 100, boys. Did you ever think we would make it this far?
Yes.
You did?
Knox, what did you think?
I thought we'd have made it further in 2 years because it means we've skipped 4 episodes.
Right. Yeah.
Because this is also the 2-year anniversary.
Has it been exactly 2 years?
Exactly. Because
Really?
I think we recorded the first one on my birthday as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
good point. Okay, that's
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know we did. We got into a point where we were just like not doing them every now and then.
And it
but
was
then
real
people
early
started
on.
to like it, and so we were like, well, we'd better commit to this.
When very few people were listening, we treated them like shit.
Yes. Yeah. The few that have been here from day one, those are the ones that are least deserving of our respect. Anyway, today we have a huge show for you. Do we want to sizzle up what we're doing later in the show?
Yeah.
I mean, people have probably, there's little to no point to this, as people have presumably already seen it in the episode title and description.
Imagine if we said something else.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
We're trying to think of something to do like as a hook for our 50th episode. People may remember for whatever reason, we decided to pick the Time magazine list of 50 greatest games of all time.
Yeah.
For this one, we saw an IGN video that was their game of the year from the last 16 years.
I think the reason for both of these is it's literally something we saw pop up on Facebook
Yes.
when we went, what should we do?
Yes.
I don't know what we'll do for 150 because we can't just keep... I mean, we're just going to be saying the same things about the same games if we just do a list every time.
It's going to be whatever pops up on future Facebook. Spacebook.
Oh!
50 episodes time.
So we... by the way, happy birthday, Adam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Yeah, he did subtly mention it before.
We just ignored it.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It is the second birthday of our show.
After
Oh, no, Adam's what I've nicknamed this podcast. I was saying happy birthday to the podcast.
Yes.
after you reach an age, like any birthday where you're in an age where it would be embarrassing if you cried at your party,
Yes.
you should no longer really care about your birthday.
Well, that's like
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And like 18 and 21 and all that stuff, I guess. But that's just, you're
I
more
reckon-
celebrating.
I reckon you come back around in your 30s. Like, if I saw someone tearing up at their 35th, I'd be like, hey, man, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. From 30 onwards, you have to cry at every birthday.
Yes, or they don't count.
Yeah.
They're legally not binding.
Yes.
No, but you're right. I turned 31 a couple of months ago, or a month ago, and this is the first year I can remember not going out of my way to organise a birthday drinks for myself.
Yeah,
right.
So I was just like, hey, man, just let it
Let
just
it
the
ride.
sands, just let those sands slide through the hourglass. Cowabunga.
I organised a birthday breakfast burrito. Mm-hmm. What made this was a birthday breakfast burrito was that it happened to be my birthday.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, you got an early gift at the start of this week. Oh, by the way, so we're going to go through the 16 years, and we're each going to give our own game of that year.
Yes.
That year. So that's coming up later in the show.
Yes.
But Knox, you got an early gift in the form of a suck job that I gave you at the start of the week.
It's pretty good. A hell of a present. A bit of a gift for the back of your throat, I was going to say as well. But that's,
Now that's a real
it
breakfast
wouldn't
burrito.
reach all the way.
Let's quickly address a couple of emails that we've gotten suggesting that we should not be so crude on the show.
Oh, yes.
One in particular saying that they doubt that this is how we talk in real life. If anything, how we talk in real life is far worse.
Absolutely.
An amplified version.
So consider yourselves lucky that this is the version of us that you're getting on this podcast.
Yeah.
But as people will have seen in the episode description, this show as a whole, I believe an outlet is how we were described. We got invited to Nintendo HQ out in Scoresby, Victoria, to have a hands-on.
The home of fun.
The home of video games.
Scoresby.
Scoresby does have Caribbean Rollerama.
It's right next door to Caribbean Gardens.
Yeah.
Which I bought a lot of not dubiously legal. They were illegal.
Definitely illegal.
yes.
Yeah.
Pirated.
Samurai swords. And
Again, you said that in a way that suggested to me that you think you can still be done for this crime by saying it in a public forum.
no, I don't think so. But I don't want anyone who's there to lose their livelihood.
Fair enough. So we got invited to Nintendo to have a hands-on with Mario Odyssey. A great honour for the show.
Yeah.
Now, me and Adam went out. Ben, you have a full-time job.
Yes.
And you made the decision to not take a day off work in order to play a Mario game.
Correct.
But this is something that I will never be able to understand. I'll never be able to get my head around and get into your mindset of why you chose to do that.
Yeah. If you want to know the real reason, it's because I've got a holiday booked later in the year and I don't have any more leave left.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
Even
You're
then,
most welcome.
If you could tell like your childhood version of yourself that one day, instead of going to see an unreleased Nintendo game, you will instead go to your job at a drab office, I'm assuming. I'm assuming the office is incredibly drab and everyone wears those like bowler hats and is called Mr. Banks.
Like from Brazil, from maybe Brazil.
I'm thinking more Mary Poppins.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to my boss, Chappie, who listens to the show.
Oh, really? I reckon you should loosen up, mate. How about you take that umbrella and you open it up and then water goes everywhere, but it's like rainbow water.
Oh.
That doesn't happen to Mary Poppins. I can't remember that movie.
No, that happens in your dream.
Yeah.
Chappie, at the very least, lose the bowler hat, mate. It's 2017. Get over it. Okay. So you can't take any more leave. It's very important to you that you go to Thailand and get breast implants.
Yes.
Okay, so we got to spend 90 minutes alone. Well, not alone. You and I with Super Mario. I did not know going in what the format was going to be.
No.
Like I knew we got to pick a time, and I knew there were going to be other people there. My fear was that it would be, us
like
and
a presentation.
10
sort of
other assholes just jostling for position on the old Joy-Con. But no, it was you and I in a room together. We had a lovely representative from Nintendo, Eve, who kind of talked us through the game.
Her name was Eve. It wasn't just the day before Nintendo. And she...
No, I went in the night before and camped out. That's how keen I was.
Yeah, she just like basically let us... So we played a tutorial level kind of thing in the Cappy Ghost World bit, and then went ahead and played 2 other levels.
So she kind of maneuvered us around. We got 3 separate areas, and we kind of got like a bit of an allotted time with each, and then she would kind of move us on.
Yeah.
And full props to her. She was kind of very engaging, very warm, very nice to us, like telling us stuff about the game, which was... very lovely, very nice person.
My question, does she come with the game?
Which they had 2 days worth of these where they had sessions running all day from 9 to 5.
So 2 days. How would you describe that?
like a pair?
Less than 3 days.
More than one.
More than 1 day.
Yeah.
Like double 1 day.
Right. Double 1 day.
Double 1 day. You walk away and you go, wow, she was really cool. And then you realise she's had to do that. Watch the same bit of the game played in an hour and a half period for 2 consecutive straight days. And we were pretty late in the process too.
Imagine going through the same shit again and again, say 100 times, and questioning whether or not it still means anything. Just an unrelated thought, doesn't matter. Anyway, it was a good way to do it because we were actually playing the game ourselves and like short version, it feels great. It looks like Mario. It feels like Mario.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what we saw. We don't want to spoil too much of it, but let's.
We have embargo stuff for some things.
Yeah, well, there's
which feels
something
cool to say. I just wanted to bring that up because it feels.
It's not really relevant to the chat at all, but it is worth bringing up. Yeah, so, general impressions, presentation-wise, everything that you'd expect. It looks great, it controls great. We were playing with the Joy-Con separate, so 2 separate Joy-Con,
Right.
not in the grip, which is kind of how they've been recommending that people play it.
So like the with the Wii, like the nunchuck.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And you can shake the right Joy-Con to
Or
do
the left one.
right
You
to do a
shake-
high jump or
yeah.
to throw your cap.
Right.
I actually didn't mind holding
It
it
worked
in that
fine.
way. Yeah, it felt pretty good. Like I've never played a game on the Switch in that
I
configuration.
guess other than
Yeah.
ARMS, which is super
Which is still
different.
you kind of holding it in a different way,
Yeah.
like in terms of just I'd still would probably default to the Pro controller, but it handles super well. So yeah, you basically
It's a bit of a fucking hassle actually to play it in that way because you kind of have to slide those extra little bits onto the top of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then to do that, you have to remove them every time you want to charge those things or put them back on the. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, I also I don't play any other game in that configuration, so
Yeah.
maybe that's
yeah.
That I will say like that. If I was going to have any quibbles early on, doesn't sound great.
it totally feels fine,
Okay.
and
All right.
it's just one of the options of how to do it. So
I
Right.
feel like most
Right.
people will still default to the Pro controller.
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
seem to
sure.
be kind of pushing it because I think they just want to justify the fact that there's the
Yep.
motion control shit in there as well.
That makes sense.
So you press Y to throw your cap, and then you can, if you hold down Y, once the cap has reached its limit, it hovers there, and then you can do the jump onto it,
Yeah,
which is
okay.
what you've seen a couple of times in the trailers.
Yep.
So the tutorial, very brief, standard thing where you just learn to, as we were repeatedly told to refer to it, capture the enemies.
you capture them. There's no like words that are technically a synonym for capture, like possess, for example.
Yes.
It's not possessing.
Yeah.
You don't
And
possess them.
And
not
if
in a
you were
Nintendo
to
game.
and if you were to say accidentally out of habit, keep referring to it as possessing people as you were talking to this Nintendo representative,
Yes.
you would find yourself being
you would be reminded.
you'd be quite frankly told never to refer to it as that again.
Did you start to see her eye twitch? Perhaps?
Her head turned a full 360 degrees. No, you're capturing them
Because you use
There's-
the cap.
There's nothing demonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because there is a bit in a game where Mario captures a young girl and his ability is that he can rotate her head 360 degrees
Right,
and
right.
start spewing everywhere.
Cool.
So, I mean, that to me, that's possession, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird to...
No, it's capturing.
Okay.
Okay, but
Mario-
what about when that guy comes in, he's like throwing the water on you and he's yelling, the power of Christ compels you.
He's
Right.
trying to uncapture
He's
you.
still just trying to uncapture. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. Spoilers for what we saw in the game.
Yeah. Mario said cunt a lot. It was really weird.
Well, hey, we should quickly address this because this will come up later. Last week we recorded before a Nintendo Direct had aired,
yes.
and then released the episode after it had aired. So
Yep.
people heard us doing some very freezing cold takes on what we thought we were going to see. I made a joke about,
yes.
hey, I can't believe they revealed a Mario nude patch, and wouldn't you know it, they didn't come too far from that mark.
Yeah.
They showed a little clip of Mario running around in his little bathers with his little Mario
Also-
nipples out.
But we bought some of them, and they're not bathers; they're boxers.
Yeah.
they're boxer shorts
Right.
instead of and they cost 1,000 coins.
Yeah.
and for reference, a full pirate costume costs 200.
Yeah.
Fuck.
They're the most expensive item on the menu. But we had to do it. And she was like, everyone has done this. Every other person has immediately... Because I think when in the little sections that they put you in, you have 1,000 coins. So from
Yeah,
the
you got
purposes
quite a
of
lot.
what
Right.
we were sat down... For the purposes of journalism to play, we literally had to blow our life savings in order to buy these boxer shorts.
Yeah, but Mario looked pretty good running around there with the sun glistening off of that beautiful back.
So we played the Luncheon Kingdom and we played the
Bubble
Seaside
something?
Kingdom.
Like,
Oh,
was
yeah.
it Bubble?
I don't know. I think it's just called the Seaside
Soda. It was the soda water.
Yeah.
is
Right.
the ocean.
Okay.
One-
cool.
That was one of the ones that they had only just revealed last
Yeah.
week in the
Yeah.
Nintendo Direct video. So that was cool to kind of get to see that kind of hot off the presses. And basically, so we kind of got to get a pretty good idea of how the game functions in terms of them saying, and she said this to us a bunch of times, that it's a, what did she say? No, that's what she said.
What did she say?
What did she say?
It's just someone standing in another conversation, maybe overhearing a funny joke or a turn of phrase.
What did
That's
she say?
said. What did she say? It's the Who's on First version of the worst joke.
It's the second-hand information version.
Oh, we found a way to make That's What She Said even more annoying. What did she say? So she, you know, this PR line of the fact that it's the spiritual successor to Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. These big open worldy kind of sandbox worlds where there's just, you know, dozens of and the number varies in each kingdom, but like dozens of little moons. They used to be stars. In this game they're moons to find. And the way that the kingdoms kind of unfold is when you first get into them, they're kind of boxed off, like they seem very limited. And there is kind of
through and shows you that, like, whenever you do a new shine in Sunshine or whatever, it'd show you a little, oh, here's maybe a thing that's glowing. What if you go towards that?
Yep, sure.
And yeah, you have like basically a quest line.
Yeah, so this is kind of there's a if you want to follow it, there's kind of a progression of I guess that varies, but in the one we saw it was like 4 to 5.
Yep.
Where there's a very vague story going on in that kingdom that kind of guides you towards like the order that you do them in.
Yep.
And each time that you do one of them, the world kind of opens up a little bit more and a new kind of little segment of it is revealed until eventually you reach the kingdom's final form, where then you're just free to fuck around and do whatever you want. And that's where you're going to spend the bulk of your time exploring.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of an interesting kind of change and an interesting kind of 2017 way of doing like a sandboxy 3D platformer where, yeah, you kind of get guided through it. And there are these little segments that still feel like they're doing these little bits of you know, what they've been doing lately with Mario 3D World and 3D Land. Like there are bits that they start off kind of feeling like these little mini self-contained levels and they kind of, the way they kind of open up, I thought was really cool.
Well, and the camera is like zoomed out in a way similar to 3D World.
Yeah.
But it does control, it feels like Galaxy, and then it has the openness of more like 64 or Sunshine.
Right.
So it really is like a combination of all the different sort of types of the 3D ones that they've done so far.
Sweet.
Because when they were saying, that it's a spiritual successor, or not even spiritual, that it's a successor to 64 and Sunshine, I kind of didn't understand why Galaxy wasn't included in that set. But I kind of hadn't remembered that Galaxy did have you go in and you do this one level and you can't explore around. You do this one star or whatever it was.
There were I think there were maybe one or two, you know, there was the odd one in there in Galaxy where kind of you would be put in there and you'd sort of have to hunt around. But yeah, for the most part, you were never looking around going, where is this fucking thing? Whereas I can see that there'll be heaps of that in this. Like you really do need to kind of, and she would kind of prompt us a little bit. Like we spent a lot of time just kind of dicking around. Yeah. And she would go, oh, hey, maybe look under here. Like what's going to be down there? And you sort of find this, you know, weird little,
little caves and little hidden bits. And then you go in them and it'd warp you to some other place and there'd be a platforming area, or like the little 2D segments are really cool.
So we did one of those, which people will have seen in the trailer. It's where you go down a pipe and then and then it pans to the wall and you're kind of in the style of 8-bit Mario, kind of like that crossed with hieroglyphics, kind of doing a little 2D level on the wall. We did one of them that was basically involved. There were multiple ways to get into it, and you would find yourself going down a dead end, so you'd have to go back out and in the 3D world look into another pipe to get yourself into the right spot. Yeah. And I can see that being I reckon that'll be a mechanic that is in there heaps, and you will keep having different variation of how you get in there and how the 3D space that you've gone into it from kind of affects the way that the 2D level pans out. Yeah. But they were really cool and they were really fun.
It's very telling of the sort of philosophy, the design philosophy that seems to be behind
something happened to your voice there.
Because I was saying a term that I deem a little wanky. I'm using the word deem to describe something as wanky, also wanky. I'm feeling pretentious now as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
I'm feeling as though I may start becoming pretentious.
Ever since you got that dick suck from Tommy.
Yeah, really changed my worldview. Spun things around.
It was weird. You did immediately start reading Chaucer after it happened.
Yeah. Well, it's because if I looked down at your head, I could see my own reflection in it.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Being able to see my face during that gave me some perspective.
Now, this is the sassy 28-year-old that I knew you were going to blossom into someday.
Anyway, lots of tiny little things. Like every moon that we got was pretty quick. Like, you know, we got probably half of the ones that were shown in the circles in each level in the 45 minutes we played each level.
And I have to say, I was starting to feel from the little trailers and bits of gameplay video we'd seen that some of these worlds seemed a little bit open or a little bit bland. It was kind of the same thing that we felt about the Zelda demo after we played it at the start of the year. But seeing it all in action and the way you kind of travel around these bits pretty quickly, it all kind of makes sense in context, and everything feels very alive and just as you'd expect. The presentation is pretty flawless. The capturing enemies is a lot of fun. We captured a Goomba at one point, and then you're running around as him, and I think over the course of it we with like 5 or 6 different enemies we ended up capturing.
Something like that. And it's weird because some of them, like, there are Goombas in some areas that you can capture, and then other Goombas, if you throw your hat at them, they'll just die.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, the difference is if they're wearing hats, you
can then capture them.
You can't. You can capture them if you knock
knock
the hat off
first, and then you capture them. Yeah.
There are little cues, which this is the other thing we don't know is we didn't get any context for where these two kingdoms fall in the progression of the game.
Right.
So when we got up to this bit, she kind of, after we finished the tutorial, she had to kind of exit the game and then go back in to load this new save file. And I kind of said, are you able to tell us where these are placed? And she said no. So I don't know at what order these come in. Yeah. I imagine there's a bit more of kind of teaching you this throughout the game.
Totally. We were obviously skipping over some stuff.
But you can tell this will be a thing. Even in the brief little bits we played, you found that you'd capture an enemy that has and it brings up a brief little like, oh, you can push this button to do this and this button to do this. So the range of abilities that kind of opened up just in this very small segment that we played.
Totally. Like when you're a Goomba, you can jump on top of other Goombas and stack. Like sometimes they're stacked up. And I think the 2D ones mainly they do that, or in 3D world as well.
Yeah.
And get higher up as a Goomba that way.
Yep.
There's also a lot of like you push a button to uncapture, so to leap out as Mario. So there's also a lot of stuff of kind of using that propulsion that sends you out to kind of reach areas as well. Right. But just even the new little abilities that you unlock from capturing, you can tell that that's going to be something that more and more in the game is really something that I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation
Sort of makes it more of a puzzle platformer because you'll have to kind of like figure out what abilities you need, how to get them. And
a little bit.
Well, it also opens them up to, I reckon there's going to be bits in this with sort of gameplay styles that we've never seen in a Mario game before because they're not limited. And there was one bit that genuinely made me laugh a lot, like transforming into, I'll just say, an inanimate object and then having to kind of, you can't really do anything, but it's just very funny and very weird. And if they keep that up and if there's a lot more of that sort of stuff in there, it's just like we were saying at the start of when we did our, when we talked about Mario on the Game Boy, they haven't made like a weird Mario game in a long time, and there's so much bizarre shit in this.
In the Luncheon Kingdom, the little people you're talking to in the village are these forks where, 2 of the prongs are their legs and 2 of them are their arms. And it genuinely freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually went like, oh, but it looks great. And in terms of the art design and stuff, and also it seems to have that very Nintendo-y thing of every idea shows up and they do kind of everything you can do with it, but it's very quick and then it's over and then it's done and like, okay, we'll move on. Very snappy, fast.
So we had a bit of a play around with, buying some costumes and stuff in the 2 kingdoms, and it's half purely cosmetic and then there's a section of clothes in each store in each world that you can only buy with the currency from that world, and you're gonna need a specific one to unlock be able to do a certain quest for a certain moon or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But again, I get the impression that there is going to be just tons of like just purely cosmetic stuff to dress up as,
probably.
and a lot of fun to be had there. And
amiibos and stuff too.
She told us this. I don't know if they've said anything about this, like in anything else I've seen, and it certainly wasn't listed in the embargo. So here we fucking go.
Yeah,
she was telling me that all the amiibo are going to be compatible, or certainly a great deal of older amiibo are going to be compatible with it to unlock costumes, which suggests to me, hopefully there's like, you can dress Mario up as Link if you have that amiibo or a Metroid costume. That seems like the sort of thing they would do if they're having that in, which I am such a sucker for purely cosmetic, funny-looking bullshit in a game. Like, so that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, the things we don't really know off the back of this are how many worlds there are, that sort of stuff, like the proper scope of it. But if all of them are... So, like, the luncheon one was bigger and appeared to have more moons in it than the water one.
Yes.
So it seems as though they might all
Kind of
have,
variable.
Yeah. And I would guess, if I had to guess, which I don't, but I'm going to back myself into this corner, that there's going to be quite a lot of them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing is that, we sort of realised in the lead up to Zelda that they kind of had shown us nothing of that game. This, on the other hand, they've actually shown off quite a bit. I think they've shown like 5 kingdoms or something at this point.
Like 7.
And they're still going to want to have a lot of surprises hidden away. So, yeah, I really think... I think there's... I mean, we know that the size is going to vary. And as you were saying at the time, Mario 64, all of them had the same number of stars. So there were definitely... quests in there that felt very much like, fuck, we need a 6th one.
Yeah, right.
All right, do a backflip in that bit instead of just running forward. Whereas this, they're not, they all, the ones we saw, they all have a different number of them. And they haven't tethered themselves to they each have to have 20. So they've just designed the levels around them. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some in there that just have 3. Like if there's just some tiny little kingdoms in there. But
and because the thing because Mario games you can be pretty sure are going to be fun, and all of that stuff. So the thing I was always kind of wondering about is how long it's going to be and like what the sort of scope of it is, especially after Breath of the Wild was such a massive fucking thing.
Totally. That's what I was going to ask. Is like, do you, from the limited experience you have, do you get the feeling that it's kind of going to be comparable to that, like in terms of how Breath of the Wild took Zelda and made it bigger?
Yeah.
At the very least, does it feel like it's bigger or at least richer or more?
It's so hard to say. I mean, these worlds that we played, they don't feel bigger in size than any worlds that were in Super Mario 64 or Sunshine. The difference will be just the volume of them.
Yeah, sure.
Because it felt like we had gotten about half the moons on each in the kind of 45-ish minutes. So it's about 2 hours worth of a thing for each level.
You would assume if it's called Odyssey, it's going to be long and interesting.
I think there's going to be... I think there's going to be... There must be heaps of twists hidden, and there must be heaps of stuff that they're not showing us. These also must be some of the easier ones, some of the... I'm guessing these are some of the earlier ones. I reckon these are in the first
It totally
3 or 4.
felt like something that's going to expand.
Right.
I hope so. I mean, from everything we've seen and their approach to showing stuff off, it feels like it's going to be huge. I don't want to get too... I don't want to have too much expectation weighted on that, but God, I hope it's a... I hope this is a really, really big game.
Because that time we spent with it zipped by.
Totally,
and,
and I don't know about you, but I kind of kept thinking about it yesterday. I was like, it was like, I'm so stoked that we got to do it. Again, this is one of the joys of doing this show is like 16-year-old me would have lost his... I mean, 30-year-old me would have lost his mind. Like getting to go and...
Well, I was 27.
Getting to go and do that was so amazing, but also it was like I kind of knew in the back of my mind it's kind of going to be really bad because I get to play it and then I have to leave and not get to play it again for like over a month. Like it was kind of like, oh man, I kept thinking about like, oh, what about that little bit I saw? Like, I wonder what's hiding there. Like, I want to, and I want to possess more stuff, capture more stuff. Like,
and I want to possess this game. But yeah, it felt like whatever the length and stuff is, which is a question, but ultimately not that big of a deal because it does, like everything we played felt super creative in that really Mario way. More so maybe than even the last few have been.
Definitely,
like
definitely.
Very just like balls out.
Yeah.
Well, that was my big question.
That's so weird that phrase is such a go-to of like trying hard.
Yeah. Well, that was
pretty
the big
easy
question
to get your balls out.
How do you do when they said it's a Mario 64 style game? Yeah, how do you do that in 2017 and not make it feel dated and it feels like this is how to do it. Like
They've
absolutely
cranked up
done
the
it.
speed in a really cool way.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not
Oh, yeah.
your running speed or anything necessarily. Just you're doing new stuff constantly.
Yeah, and you
which
don't
feels
get
cool.
you don't get kicked out of the levels when you collect a power moon like you
Yeah.
did in Mario 64 with
So
the
you
stars.
just
So you just
zipping
kind
around
of
the
zipping
place.
around getting them, and
Right.
yeah, like it. Someone was saying to me, like, I got really excited about it. A friend asked me, like, do you reckon it'll be a Game of the Year contender? And obviously, that's down to what you personally want out of a game, like story wise and all that kind of stuff. Well,
Yeah.
definitely not. But this feels like, in terms of just pure video game fun, it seems like it's going to be a no-brainer. Like it
Yeah.
seems like it's going to be right up there. So, anything more to add before we move on?
We'll talk more about it when it comes out, probably.
Yeah,
Definitely.
potentially. Yeah, it was really great. A big thank you to Nintendo for having us in,
Yeah.
and it was great. The whole thing was organized really well. When we got guided through the offices and had. Do you think it was weird that they pointed this out? They go. They've got these giant Pokemon costumes sitting there, and they made a big point of going, those are the original costumes from 1999.
No,
and I was
'cause
like,
if you-
kind of going, just get us in there. What do we, like, how long is this tour going to go for?
If you had like a big ass Darth Vader and it was the original one, you'd be like, look, that's the real
just
guy.
this-
Yeah, but
like-
it wasn't that.
The thing that surprised me is that they had a whole lot of motivational posters.
Really?
Not even like Nintendo themed ones. Did you not notice that?
I didn't notice
In
that.
the big main hall thing, when you were gawking at that costume, wondering why they brought it up. all covering the walls were like not even Nintendo themed. That's what I thought for a second. It was just, confidence, effort, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
whatever they are. I don't know a lot about motivating. But
Is that why it was so noticeable to you? It's like, oh, I feel good all of a sudden.
it's just people running on tracks and climbing up mountains and stuff. And, the traditional, the standard, template motivational posters. And it just seemed very at odds with everything else there because everything else was Nintendo.
Well, I went to the bathroom at one point, and at the urinal, they had a color chart of how to detect if you're hydrated or not hydrated.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those weird things that you see in someone else's office where you go, the people in here need to be told. Like, the bottom is literally black, and it's like, go to a doctor. Who needs to be told that? And also, is black piss, is that dehydration?
I think that's
Something else going on, right?
Yeah.
being a well lubricated engine.
So very exciting. Very excited for that game. It kind of feels like, a couple of friends who are into it have asked me, like, how is it? It's like, what do you say? It's
Yeah.
fucking great. Like, you knew that was coming.
It seems like a sick Mario game.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
So, do we want to get into the big treat we had for all the little good boys and girls that listen to this program?
What is that?
An ad.
Yeah, it's a treat for us, and it's a treat for everyone else. This week, this episode is brought to you by Movement Watchers. Again, they're on board. They're big time supporters of our show. Movement Watchers. We all got to watch. Mm-hmm. Fucking great.
I'm wearing mine right now.
You said that like it was the slogan. Movement watches. We all got to watch. Fucking great. What are you waiting on?
Watch yourself. With Movement Watchers.
Movement Watchers, we've all got one. Oh, so you don't need us to give you one? Well, we should not have started this company. Bye forever.
So Movement Watchers, for those listening at home who don't have one, they start at $135 Australian, which is incredibly cheap for a good watch. Usually they're like $500, $600 for like a genuinely good watch.
By going purely online, they've cut out the middleman and
That's
passed
correct.
the savings on to you.
Yes. Yeah, no overheads. They've sold over 1 million watches.
It's a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, you paused like you were just waiting for us to like, go on, boys, have a play with this one.
hey, I set it up. You knock it down.
I agree with Knox. That is a lot.
That's all I wanted.
How many did they get made, though? If they're sitting on 50 million of these things,
They
then
made
that's not going very well for them.
they made 999,999.
Oh, that's not bad. So they've had to get an extra order of one.
Yeah.
And now the company's closing.
It'd be funny when the order of watches isn't coming through quick enough in a watch factory because everyone would be checking their watches and like some people would be like, I still don't have one yet. They're not coming quick enough.
Speaking of coming quick enough, happy birthday, Knox.
Nice.
Maybe.
So, if you want to get one, and I suggest you do, you can get 15% off today or any other day from now onwards with free shipping and free returns if it doesn't fit your fat wrist or whatever, or your skinny wrist. You can go to mvmt.com/filthycasuals Filthy Casuals. You don't have to put in a code in. It already does it for you.
Nice.
It's super easy. Couldn't be easier.
Now, they're really showing up all these other goons that give us a code to read out, don't they? I never knew it was that easy to just attach it into the URL.
Yeah, baby. Thank you, Movement Watchers, for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah.
Before we move on,
Quite genuinely, I wear mine every day, and I'm a very big fan of mine.
Yeah.
So there you go.
They're fantastic. I also want to give a shout out to my cousin and his 13-year-old son, Zach, who...
The fuck's this?
who both
We didn't agree to this.
Are they sponsoring this?
What's this?
If they're paying us money, I will
What the
listen.
fuck's this bit?
well, my cousin used to give me video games, so in a way, he's paid me in
Who cares?
support. But
Never
yeah,
giving me jack shit, but a waste of time.
This is worse than what's bugging Ben.
but shout out to Zach, who apparently is a huge fan of this podcast.
Yeah, we're mucking
and
around. G'day, Zach.
Would be very excited to
Which
be
one's Zach? Is Zach your cousin or is Zach the son?
the son.
The son.
Yeah.
And how old's Zach?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I feel a bit bad about some of the things we've said on the show.
so that's 13.
Yes.
So that is
Oh no.
2004. Is that what you're trying to figure out?
no. I'm trying to work out how much younger he is than me.
Oh, okay.
Right.
2004 years.
He's 14.
He's 14
no.
years younger than you.
No, he's not.
No, because you're
He's-
31.
I reckon he could have done this quicker than you.
Yeah, because he's still doing maths homework.
Yeah.
We've not had to do it in a long
Are
time.
you smarter than a 31-year-old?
2004, I would have been 17.
Okay, I was 18.
Nice.
I was 14, 15.
Fantastic.
Now that's the
Why
episode.
we were just shouting. Not his birthday or anything. Just
No.
shouting out.
No,
Yeah.
just know that he listens now and wanted to say hi.
Sounds like you went to a family reunion or something over the weekend, and this this little cousin, this little kid,
Yeah.
beat the shit out of you. It was like, mention me on your podcast.
Say
you,
my name.
You
Yes.
Do it like
30-year-old
it's an ad.
dweeb, or I'll kill you.
It definitely wasn't that, and don't ask me about my black eye.
I'll ask you about your black piss. Actually, I don't need to ask. I know what it means. Dehydration. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
to celebrate 100 episodes of whatever the fuck this is,
Yep.
we are going through IGN style
Yep.
the previous 16 years. You know what? We probably don't need to do 2016 because we did a whole episode about
Yeah,
that at the
exactly.
time. But yeah, we're going to go through from 2000, the dawn of the millennium,
Yes.
to right now, the dawn of Knox being 28 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Willennium. My name's not Will. I just have decided to christen every day from now on the Willennium.
So any thoughts that you guys would like to offer up about your list as a whole before we get into it? Because I will say about myself, there are big gaps in this list where I am not really playing games all that much. So
Yeah.
you in particular, Ben, were shocked at how quickly it took me to assemble my list
Yes.
because in a lot of these cases, the best game of the year for me is the one game I played that year.
It's also the worst game of the year, though. So
Yeah.
I took a fair while to compile mine. I have played a lot of video games in the past 16 years, apparently. Nothing really jumps out. A lot of kind of obvious ones, but a lot of years where there was like 7 or 8 games that could have been my favourite game
Yeah.
of the year. I'm excited.
But hey,
to
you
get
know
into
what?
it.
When IGN do a could have been of the year, and then we'll rip that off.
Okay.
But for now, fucking keep it in your trousers.
Yeah, I'm the same thing where I've got like one that is a winner, and I know that because I put it in capital letters.
Very nice.
Okay, I put mine under the word winner.
No, that's a waste of time. That's more letters than you needed because you can just capitalize. The
Oh, well,
letters
if
you
we're
already
going
have.
behind the curtain, mine's in a new Word document that I haven't saved. It's document 8, which tells you that I have 7 other documents open.
Yeah.
At the
in
same time
Windows.
now?
Yeah, man.
That
Wow.
fucking stresses the shit out of
I
me.
know, man. You should wait. Get a load of my desktop.
No, I'm assuming that I don't want to see it.
Look at that.
Oh, it's indecipherable.
Look at that. It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah. Why is your background a photo of you naked on a bed?
That's the
Does
least
that really need
surprising part
explaining?
of that. Yeah. Just put recycle bin covering his penis.
I will say I hate that we're doing this because my list is it's so me, and I'm going to fucking cop it from the riffraff who listen to this show because of it. I just,
Yeah, I've gone through and put
just
like
typing mine out going, I suck. I fucking hate me.
I feel, I wanted to make some of them more like personal or something.
Right.
But some of them, like, there's a lot of, I feel like most years there's kind of a pretty general consensus on what was at least the top 3-ish best games of that year. And I don't deviate too massively from any of those.
Okay.
But so I've got a winner and then two other options in case someone else picks them just to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is, I reckon you guys are just going to have a lot of the same, and then I'm just going to read out a game that no one gives a fuck about.
Yeah.
Well, okay, do
we want to go forwards or backwards in time? I would personally like to go backwards.
Really?
Back to before this all happened. And start again. Just tell myself, hey, maybe take exercise seriously. Your metabolism isn't going to stay like this forever. Hey, Zach, you're 13. You've got time.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Study hard and exercise.
Yeah, let's treat this like we've all gone back in time and met a 13-year-old version of ourselves.
Okay.
Okay, well...
When you're about 24, cum is going to become the funniest word. Everyone's going to use that word as the funniest word, but it's going to stop being as funny in about 3 years.
So you think that's directly related to how old you are?
That's what I'd tell myself if I could tell my 10-year-old self anything.
All right.
And then I'd come back in time and go, fuck, I should have mentioned Apple. I should have said something about investment.
About being healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Apple a day keeps the black piss away.
I'm going to request that we begin from the year where I was 14.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
1 year on from where Zach is now. I think that's a good place to start, given that we know we have a 13-year-old listening. He, that will kind of prime him for what's coming next year. And that just so happens to be the year 2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the year I was 13, so this is perfect.
That's when I was 11, so I'm a little bit afraid of you guys.
Yeah, I'm in high school. You're in primary school. You're probably still taller than me.
I think I was being taught at home for a year when I was 11.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sick, man.
So you're prepared to go on the record as saying you were homeschooled?
For 1 year, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, more taught by the streets than at home, you know what I mean?
You're a pickpocket.
Yeah. I learned how to sing and how to steal.
I don't know whether to push this or not, because it seems like potentially the reason for you being homeschooled for a year is not a very pleasant reason.
I'll talk about all of that shit some other time. We literally won't have time
on our
today.
big homeschooling spectacular.
Well, no, I went to like 7 different primary schools for different reasons.
Yeah.
We weren't traveling. But we literally don't have time.
Okay.
Who wants to go first with their 2000 Game of the Year?
I think we should all say it at once.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like 3, 2, 1, and then say it.
All right.
And then expand.
It is a
from
dumb
there.
idea, but also,
And
what is our podcast?
If we
not
don't
dumb ideas.
If we don't hear one of our answers, we are not allowed to talk about it.
Let's
we're gonna yell really loud.
Yeah.
let's race through the list. Let's not elaborate on any of our choices. So the next 5 minutes is just us shouting 16 names in a row.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
Here's to the next 100.
All right, 3,
Oh my God.
3, 2, 1. Deus
Perfect
Ex.
Dark.
I couldn't understand either of you.
We're definitely not doing that again.
I think I heard Perfect Dark coming from you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Because I had a 64, and that was I just kind of looked through what came out that year.
Yep.
Majora's Mask came out that year, but
Yep.
I just missed that one, and I'm as soon as I get it, that's right near the top of my list of
you've
stuff
still
to
never
go
played
back
that,
on.
right?
I've still never played
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of clips of it at the Zelda Symphony I went to, and I'd never seen that much gameplay footage from within it, and I was like, fuck, I gotta go in on this. But yeah, Perfect Dark, for anyone of that generation, big GoldenEye head, and so kind of a sequel, non-sequel, but Rare doing a shooter again that's their own property. I just remember the hype for that being absolutely massive, and just not able to cope with having to wait for it to come out.
And like the hype for that was complete bullshit too, because I remember that was the game where like a bunch of magazines gave it like 101%.
Oh, absolutely. But again, that's totally in that age bracket, and I reckon this will start coming up, potentially maybe with you guys in the next couple of years of this list, where you don't. I don't know. At that age, I didn't feel like I had that much of a kind of bullshit filter, or I just anything artistic that I saw, I just wanted to like. Like you just think everything's good.
Yeah.
You haven't really developed that much critical thinking yet.
Hence
I think
why,
that's fair.
hello again, Zach, for being a fan of our podcast before you've developed your critical thinking skills.
But yeah, I've never gone back to it. I don't even remember getting particularly far in it or having anything like the amount of fun that I had with GoldenEye. But just it being out and it being one of the last games on the 64, so it really did. This is when they're really pushing the hardware, and I think it needed the expansion pack, and it just for its day it looked great, and it had been so long of sitting and looking about it in the magazines that it holds a special place in my heart. Also, I think it's pretty much the only thing I played that year.
That is one of the runners-up that I had written down.
Oh, really?
And Majora's Mask too.
So can we quickly say, how are you guys doing this? Are you doing this based on how you personally felt about it at the time, or are you going retroactively? Because there's a couple here where I'm putting them in there just because I'd played nothing else that year, and I've since played them all the remaster, and I'm like, well, that's my favourite game from that year.
A bit of both. It doesn't necessarily be that I had to play it that year.
Well, let's try and specify when we're naming them if they're... I imagine there'll be some that are
Whether
in
they
there
hold
because
up
they're
today.
closer to your heart at the time or whatever.
Sure.
Well, yeah, because Perfect Dark, like you said, it was a huge thing at the time, and I think it would be extremely difficult to go back to now and have too much of a good time with.
Well, didn't they did re-release it on the Xbox at one point, and
in like 2010, and it was fine.
Yeah,
but and I played a little bit of that, and yeah, it isn't.
Props to them, though. That's a smart move as a developer, like to sort of go, we've got this thing that's a monster hit. Any kind of smart logic would suggest we'll do a sequel, but we can't because it's this license. So I guess we'll just develop this whole new kind of world and hope that, and that's that weird thing with games where you're always... There's so much kind of, I just remember, like, everyone knew. It's like, this is the team that made Gold. You become so invested in a company that carries a long way to like, it's not all the same stuff, but how much did you really give a fuck that James Bond was in it in the first place?
Exactly. Rare, especially during that time.
They could do no wrong.
One of the big, like them and Square, I guess, were like the really big.
Square and Rare.
Square and Rare, baby. Anything that rhymes makes it good. That is why this is good. But yeah, Perfect Dark was...
What?
It good rhymed with good.
Oh, okay.
It ran pretty badly and stuff like that. And like... But playing it again not that long ago... It kind of in its favor, the controls are so different from modern shooters in that it's just the one stick and you're moving around, that it does lend it something a little bit different to make it, but
give it a bit of a pass.
Yeah, it's definitely an of its time sort of a game in a lot of ways.
I've never played it, and I guess I probably never will.
Well, what did you say then?
I said Diablo 2. Yeah. A game that I think holds up today. I think a lot of people would probably prefer it over 3. I think 3 was a bit worse.
There's a lot of people clamoring for like a remaster in the vein of how they did StarCraft.
Yes, yeah. So this was a game. The few games on my list, I kind of tossed up between. This one, I definitely played the most of.
Okay,
just pure hours. I played a fuckload of this game. I played it through from start to finish, dozens of times, and that kind of. The combat was so simple. You just clicked. You were just clicking on stuff, and the loot gathering has kind of never been beaten. It was just perfect. It was so fun to collect this stuff and upgrade it, and just the kind of silly story with all the demons and shit. The CGI cutscenes at the time were really impressive. The music, the characters that were there were just. Yeah, it's just a great package, top to bottom, and I played a shit ton of it.
Yeah, it never grabbed me.
Yeah,
I played a bit of it, but loot things never have.
Yeah.
Like Destiny, I don't click with that part of it.
I'm a bit the same. Yeah, I remember reading a lot about Borderlands 2 when it came out, and liking the art style of it, and going, oh, here we go, and then getting into it and going, oh my god, this is what it is. Like I hate this.
It's a real. What do you call them? One-armed bandit.
Pokey
machine.
Yeah.
sort of
Slot
a
machine
thing.
for our overseas listeners.
Your act out of pulling the handle of a pokie machine, it looked like you were doing the Warner Brothers frog.
Yeah, no, I was just pumping my fist because I knew I was going to remember the name.
And I have to say, I don't particularly usually get into kind of like
Yeah.
loot games. It's kind of like Diablo 2 and Destiny, really. That's it.
Yeah.
But it was, like the music of Diablo 2 still like, evokes something in me whenever I hear it. It's just, it's great atmosphere. And
I was at a pie face. Not that
Yeah, I
long
was
ago.
there.
Were you there?
Yeah, we were all
okay.
drunk after a gig.
Yeah, right.
We were all drunk
What
after
a
a gig.
yarn.
And the guy who was working there was playing the Diablo music over the speakers.
Yes.
in
It
the
was
pie
it was
face.
Knox, myself, former guest Peter Jones, and a couple
yeah.
of our friends.
Former guest like he'll never be on again.
If I have my way. And I think
By the way, here's an update on Pete Jones and former guest / real life partner of Pete Jones, Kate Dennett.
Yes.
They bought a Switch.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
good on
listeners
him.
might be interested in that.
You got so mad at Ben for mentioning out a cousin, and then he just said, 2 people, they bought a product.
Yeah, well, the cousin hasn't been on this show. These people,
True.
they're part of
Sorry.
the universe now.
Future guest, my cousin.
Great. Which pie face was this out of interest?
The
Birkin exhibition.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. I know
Yeah.
that guy.
yeah.
He's like Belgian or French or something?
Yeah, he's been mentioned frequently over on my other podcast,
Right.
The Little Dum Dum Club, for different reasons. So it's great to see that there's now
yeah.
the Venn diagram of these two podcasts, of all things,
Yeah.
is one weirdo who works at Pie Face on Exhibition Street.
Yeah,
Does not surprise me at all.
a lot of people do love that game and still hold it to be the highest example, like you seem to.
It is one of those
Absolutely,
ones
yeah.
that you hear come up all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, kind of like StarCraft. Like,
Yeah.
the StarCraft 2 is all right, but StarCraft 1 is a perfect, version of that kind of game.
Starcraft, more like Stark Raving Mad.
Oh shit! Well, now that the hottest take's been done, I guess it's time to end this and every other podcast.
Oh, they all get shut down.
Yeah.
Call up your mate
Nice.
Carl. Sorry,
Except
buddy.
for-
Even ones I'm not involved in.
Yeah.
One more podcast gets made, and it's serial about how
That gag.
every podcast got murdered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my one was Deus Ex, which I think I've talked about on this before.
Yep.
That's another one where none of the sequels have even come an inch close to
Right.
recreating how good that was.
Deus Ex, I remember being a big one for being shared around a cracked version on a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
at my high
Sure.
school.
Yeah.
And people would always call it Juice Ex.
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Yeah, I avoided calling it Juice Ex. I think I used to call it Deus because I didn't want to say sex.
Nice. Nice.
It's great. I imagine it would still hold up.
You're an 11-year-old boy who's that scared of saying sex. Really?
scared of every aspect of it. Yes,
Fair enough, yeah.
Saying it, invoking it, like the same way you're afraid of saying Beetlejuice or Candyman.
I'm scared of saying possessed after what we went through yesterday.
Juice X, something I did not have for many years.
Ah, very nice.
The year
But
2000.
yeah, it's massive and complicated in a really interesting way,
Yep.
and for the time was so kind of
It was revolutionary in terms of like, here's a pretty open level and here's a bunch of ways to get to the end or get to the next one.
Yeah.
And it depends on the skills that you've chosen to upgrade and the way you want to play. And I remember that coming out and being like the first time that was really in a game at all.
yeah, and I think it's kind of not been beaten in a lot of ways.
Yep. Yeah.
Like it's a pretty kind of the Citizen Kane of video games.
Oh, very nice.
The worst headline title of any article you're ever going to see it. But yeah, that's the turn of the millennium.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
2000, the turn of the millennium. Should we move on to the next year? 2001. Let's move on to that. Do we want to do? Now I got to say, I've come around to the yelling out all the names at once.
No.
I'm happy to do that again.
I was instantly turned off it.
I liked it a lot. 3, 2, 1.
Gloria Land 4.
Yeah, I couldn't hear any of it. Again.
That actually worked that time. I couldn't, and I've got headphones on too. I couldn't hear any of it.
I heard Grand Theft Auto 3, I think, and yours was just a mumble, Tommy.
Okay.
What
Well,
did
let's
you-
no. This should
we-
be the rule.
Okay.
Whichever one was most legible
Most
is the one
audible
we start with.
first? All right, great.
I mean, there's not a lot to say about GTA 3 that we didn't say on our premium episode. It is a fantastic game. Again, like Deus Ex,
Yep.
Deus Ex.
Stop freaking me out with that language.
Now at school we called this Grand Theft Auto sex.
Like Deus Ex, it kind of not invented a new kind of game, but it kind of did. You know, it was this sandbox action crime game with kind of a cinematic story to it, with almost name voice actors in GTA 3. I feel like there was at least one or two.
Oh, I don't remember. I remember Tommy Vercetti and Ray Liotta being in Vice City being a big thing. But,
just revolutionary.
Totally.
Franchise that was already known and beloved, dare I say it? Like very popular.
Oh, they were kind of medium, I'd have said, the GTA games before that.
GTA 2 kind of got a bit of flack, actually, when it
I
came
remember
out.
one just being like, oh, you steal cars and you just kind of can run anywhere.
Totally.
And thinking that, in it going to 3D going, good luck, boys.
Yeah.
Seems like you've kind of... I don't know how you're going to pull this off, and everything that it kicked off from there is,
it's weird because it's sort of an example of a few things that did this around this sort of time. Of the technology had gotten to a point where this sort of game literally hadn't been possible before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were sort of the first in the gate of this new generation of consoles at the time.
Yeah.
And paves the way for, spoiler alert, a game that will be my game of the year for a year coming up, The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh.
Is that real?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I
hard to tell with you, Tommy.
Yeah. There was no way, but yeah.
Honestly, not a lot more to say. It's a great game. I love it. It was my game of the year of 2001.
Thomas?
I had Wario Land 4 on the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
I had been a big fan of all the other ones on the previous iterations of the Game Boy. I believe this was the first one that was on the Game Boy Advance. So the other two, the first one had been on the original Game Boy. The two after that had been the Game Boy Color. And so, it is that thing as well where it's like the leap up from the Game Boy Color to the Game Boy Advance was like crisp, like almost like basically a portable SNES.
Yeah.
And just a great platformer where they really made... I'd been a big fan of those other three games. And, I had a Game Boy Advance at the time. It coincided with us going on a family holiday where I just...
Right.
I think we drove a long distance as well. So just absolutely smashing it in the car. Big bag full of AA batteries ready to just pump into this thing. And I
Tilting the screen towards the sun.
yeah, totally. And I played it again recently. It's on the Wii U eShop, and it holds up. It's a really solid platformer.
Nice.
I've always been a big fan of Wario as a character. The only other thing I could think that I played on this list was Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did like. I've put Wario Land 4 just because I've gone back to it recently and it does hold up for me. Conker's Bad Fur Day, I think, in its attempt at vulgar humour, would just kind of annoy me now as an adult. I do remember.
Sure.
What do you mean?
That kettle is extremely black. You're right.
Yeah, fair. But I do remember in Conker's Bad Fur Day sinking a lot of time into the multiplayer.
Right.
Weirdly enough, like it had that kind of started to kick off a lot towards the end of the 64. Was like every platformer just had, like Banjo-Tooie had these weird multiplayer modes, and it had a lot of just it from memory. It was all these third person shooting modes. But they all had kind of weird gimmicks in them where you could do... I think one of them you could do like this Matrixy kind of shit where you could slow down time and stuff. I remember sinking a lot of time into that. But yeah, purely on... I just think Conkers now would... It being funny would kind of rub me the wrong way. It was very... not shocking, but a big deal at the time to have a game come out that was like... doing actual jokes and being very bawdy. But I would just find that a bit like,
And the shooting, I think, was something that might have aged quite poorly in that
Totally,
as well, those shooting segments.
Yeah.
I chose Halo, speaking of shooting.
Yep.
That game was similar to GTA 3 in a lot of ways in that a shooter like that kind of hadn't been done before at all.
Yes.
And let alone on a console, and it was just a crazy thing to see. The multiplayer was a big thing for me for a few years there. We even a couple of times did the thing of linking up multiple Xboxes.
Yeah, that's the only way that I ever played it at the time. Was going to parties and playing it. In that way.
And the single player was great as well. Having vehicles be incorporated so smoothly into stuff I kind of hadn't seen in a shooter before.
Definitely not. I remember jumping in the Warthog in the multiplayer and being like, I've never done this before. Yeah. Why has it never been in a game? It's so much fun.
It looked great. It controlled really well. It was just a home run straight out the gate. That's a correct usage of that, right?
Sure.
you hit a home run through a gate.
Straight out of the gate. So you're locked up. You're sort of behind a fence.
Yep.
And they just hit a button and the door flings open. and you run out. There's a ball already coming towards you.
Oh, yeah.
And you just have to crack.
That's what Halo fucking did, man, in the back of a huge Jeep with a Gatling gun.
Nice.
Great.
It was a very good game, and that's why I chose it. End of essay.
Okay. 2002.
3, 2, 1. Metroid
wake up.
Prime.
We have not had the same one yet so far.
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
I
That's
heard
interesting.
you most legibly,
Okay.
Knox. Who
That's
did you
because I
hear?
started to yell.
I'm really excited to talk about this game.
Also, it helps that these are in capital letters. I didn't realize that.
Metroid Prime, you say.
Yeah, that thing was fucking cool. It looked incredible at the time. The
Yeah.
sort of mix of it being a shooter and like a platformer,
Yeah.
Yep.
first person, was really cool. It was massive and really cleverly designed in the way that it all linked together and everything.
Yep.
Just that there wasn't really a game like that at the time.
Especially on a Nintendo console. And huge for them to take a franchise and just completely...
And to
that's
hand-
what people... The idea... Well, I mean, a 2D Metroid has just come out on the 3DS, but it's a kind of a redo.
Yeah.
The idea of them kind of, for a big-scale Metroid game, going back to what it was is just inconceivable.
And to hand it off to this other studio
Yeah.
too, and similar to me in my head of the way Ocarina of Time felt going 3D Zelda.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime is that as well.
Have
And
you
just-
played all three of them?
Yes. I
And
have.
do you think the quality remains consistent throughout?
It dips slightly each time.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the best out of the three.
Yeah,
and,
Do you think that's a bit more of just like you knowing what you're in for as opposed to...
No,
or do
it
you-
was. They got a little less of the cool sort of interlinked worlds. Like they started to become 2, not so much, but 3 was a lot more linear. And the spark and the creativity in the first one just wasn't there. And the second one had this kind of annoying mechanic of you had to be in these bubbles in one world to like there was a light and a dark world version of each thing, very Nintendo thing. And the air would hurt you if you were outside of these bubbles.
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
like
yeah.
these bloody liberals, always got to stay inside of their bubbles.
This sounds cool to me.
And it just they each one was not as good as the one before.
Right.
But the first one was this crazy interesting thing that
I cannot wait until we find out more about that fourth.
yeah same.
Dying to know what's going on there.
I think it might be good.
Oh.
Huge.
That's my professional analysis.
Ben, what do you got?
The Elder Scrolls, whatever, Morrowind.
3.
Is it 3?
It would have been 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, because Skyrim's 5.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, like this keeps being the case with these games that we're bringing up. It for me, it was the first game of its kind with the scope that it had, with the level of detail, the writing, the characters. Like, I just never played a game like it, and I loved it. It was everything I'd always wanted in a video game. This massive world where you literally create a character, you get your story set up, and then you can just walk out into the world. And yeah, it's just great. Everyone knows how good Skyrim is now, but Morrowind was that, but with a kind of weirder, more interesting aesthetic. And I played
Kind of a
shit ton
bigger world.
Yeah, I
than,
think
like-
it was. Yeah.
I remember the first time I like killed someone in their house and then started dressing their house up like it was mine. And then luckily in their home I found a copy of Morrowind and I went and played that afterwards and it was a
We all
very good
knew.
game.
We all knew it was coming.
Yeah. Happy birthday. That's your gift.
Us enduring whatever that was.
But yeah, no, that game was fucking sick.
See,
And that-
watermelon bed sheets everywhere. Just
That freedom, yeah, like you can be a warrior or a thief or a priest or a mage or whatever. You can walk into someone's house and have a nice conversation with them and they give you something. You can walk in and hit them over the head and steal all their shit. Like you could approach that game in whatever style you wanted and it wouldn't always be successful, but you could still just go, I'm this character and this is how I'm playing and I'm going to see how far I can get.
Yeah.
And you usually got a pretty far distance.
there's a lot to be said for these years that we're talking about and the ages that we are at the time, and a lot of these games being very like concepts that turn out to be revolutionary and change and experiencing them at that really ripe age for it too,
Totally.
where everything is kind of mind-blowing, and you're like, anything that you see feels revolutionary, let alone it literally being revolutionary for the industry. Like, we're kind of in
the Beatles are the best band ever. They'll never be topped. I love that Gold FM.
I feel very fortunate that I've kind of grown up at the time I have in terms of video games. Like, I think it's kind of that perfect progression for, like, discovering that stuff, being quite young, and it kind of always staying with you, and being the age that you are now, where there's so much and so many options, and being an adult with your own income, where you can just go, well, this is what I'm going to spend my money on.
Totally.
I like it. If you were a kid now and had to squirrel away pocket money to get one game every 6 months, it'd be brutal.
Yeah.
Because it's just too much out there.
And how complex and great these things were, I think, is kind of what got me into video games at all.
Yeah.
If I'd have grown up in the 70s, and I don't think I would have liked Space
You'd be
Invaders
dead by now.
Right.
in the 80s. I specifically would be.
Yes.
In the there's not really that many, and this might be different if I was a different age, obviously, but late 90s onwards is sort of the only era of games that really appeal to me.
Right. So I'm different. I loved like even those games like Breakout where you're hitting a ball up against bricks.
Yeah.
Like, I just always loved video games.
Yeah.
But certainly, like, I would have been 15 in 2002. Yeah, perfect prime time, discovering a lot about myself and a lot about the world of video games.
Well, contrary to what I just said, the 2002, these couple of years here, this year specifically is a year that I don't think I even had a console. The GameCube was out, big Nintendo boy, didn't have one. I'm getting into the realm of just spending pocket money and not being able to afford to buy the things that I want.
Yep.
So my game for 2002 is one that I've only come to recently, and that is Zelda the Wind Waker.
Nice.
Which came out that year. We've spoken about it before on a premium episode and also in regular discussion.
In almost every other normal episode.
Yes, great. Just a great game that holds up fantastically now. I love the art style. I remember busting to play it at the time because I was not in the vocal masses who were furious at this change in tone that they had taken, because it just totally fit in with the stuff I was into, and I just really wanted to get my hands on it.
Nice.
Especially coming off the back of Ocarina of Time and being the exact right age for that. But yeah, that's mine. 2002. I'm kind of cheating because I didn't play it until many years later, but yeah.
Honourable mention to Austin Powers Pinball as well.
Yes. The true game of the year.
Before we do our yelling, I will mention that my one for 2003 was The Legend of Zelda the Wind Waker.
Oh, really?
I think it came out over here in 2003, I guess, must be what happened. So I'm going to axe that one because we've already spoken about it, but it's fucking rad.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Okay.
2003.
3, 2, 1...
Mario Kart
Prince of
Double
Persia:
Dash.
Sands of Time. I was going to say that same one, but heard you starting to say it then.
Oh, okay.
So
You were the only one I could hear, Knox.
Prince, do you know what's fucking weird?
What?
This, as we were reading that out, and I was about to read Star Wars, someone sent me a message about Star Wars.
Whoa!
How crazy is that?
That's fucked up, man.
Fuck,
Let's call
man.
him. Let's call him.
Who'd have thought two people would be talking about the biggest movie of all time? Prince of Persia, you want to talk about?
Sure.
That game is kind of the prototype for...
The game Prototype.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like every kind of Batman combat, modern Tomb Raider-y stuff, like... It figured out how to do 3D platforming-y action in a new, different way that was really cool. I really liked... the time manipulation stuff, that was great.
That was
so like
Sands of Time, right? Yeah.
The first of like the reboot trilogy, which weirdly I didn't really play the other two.
Right.
This is the game that's set in the opening credits of Days of Our Lives, correct?
Yeah, this is that one. It's about the is that the one with the puppet who comes to life?
No,
that's Passions.
Oh, okay. Right, my game of the year was Passions then, I'm sorry. It was a really great sort of new take on like action-y platformery games and combat and all that sort of stuff.
And not only that, a revival of a franchise that has been around since basically the very start of video games.
Prince of Persia was one of the first games. I remember I would play that with my dad when I was very young. So I guess I did like video games when I was younger.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those ones that was very simple, but I really liked it. Really hard, the first Prince of Persia game. Incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and the more modern. The 2003 one was, kind of easy, and the story was a bit naff, and but it was. It was just a great, fun thing. And if you look at the design of that game, you can see it as a blueprint for so much
Assassin's
modern
Creed
stuff. Assassin's Creed, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I never played it, but that was a game that my best friend had, and I would watch him play.
Oh, sounds like a very fun time.
Yeah.
Wait, what game?
Prince of Persia.
Oh.
Sands of Time.
Didn't you just say that was your favourite game of the year?
No, that was Nox's.
That was me talking just then.
Oh, okay. No, because you said to him, did you want to talk about this? And then you just started talking about it.
Oh, that was me talking.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my fucking
Nox
mind.
just said, do you want to talk about Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time? And I said, yes, because I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I thought that was because it was on both of your lists.
No,
I thought he
no.
was asking, do you want to talk about it as in, hey, you're claiming this is your favourite game of the year.
Tommy,
do you want to talk
right.
about it?
Nox, do you want to talk about it?
You're making this podcast now, you trying to figure out something that everyone listening understood.
Yes.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
It's like reverse serial. Where
Yeah.
if it was a murder where we're going to figure out who killed those people in OJ's house. There's nobody knows yet, but we're going to spend a bit of time figuring it out.
I'd love that. I'd legitimately love listening to that. Okay, so Ben, what's yours?
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
A game that, for a Star Wars fan at the time, it was just great to have a good Star Wars story to experience. Really rich characters. The gameplay style was, I don't know, just something that really appealed to me. It was kind of this really talky RPG, kind of, what would you, what is it, you get to choose where your character goes in terms of the decisions they make and the attitude they have. Mm-hmm. So like Mass Effect had Renegade and Paragon, this had Dark Side, Light Side. You got to kind of steer your character towards a certain ending. The combat was kind of very methodical. It was it would freeze frame and you get to set up how your party was going to attack. That would kind of unfold. Just a really engaging story all the way through, and a game that I've played over and over and over since. Holds up today. I played it a few months ago.
Possibly the best written Star Wars thing to date at the time.
Yes.
And maybe still to date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Partly because it has a lot more time to let itself unfold.
Totally. And there's an element of Star Wars where it's you kind of get these hints of these worlds and these characters and these, factions. And back when the first three movies came out, a hint was enough.
Yeah.
And it kind of was ruined in the prequels. But this kind of took those hints and delved into them really, in depth, but managed to still make it really engaging and interesting.
And took all the cool stuff about Star Wars and used it to its own ends.
Totally.
In a really good way. I remember
you got to be the character that you wanted to in the movies.
I remember when ending that game and there being the shot of everyone at a ceremony. And it did the da-ba-da-ba-da-ba and going cool. Yeah. I guess I like Star Wars.
Yeah. That was a great 37-hour Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Mine is Mario Kart Double Dash.
Nice.
Which again, I think at this point, this is me going back a few years later and playing it. But just a really different one for the series. It had the hook where you had two people in each car, and you could do a co-op thing where one of you is driving and the other one is in charge of items, and you get two items at a time. And so if you had a friend that wasn't particularly good at that stuff, it was just a good way of them being involved. And I had a mate who perfectly fit that criteria, and it had this ultimate cup that you would unlock where you just it's a Grand Prix, but you do every single track in the game in a row.
Right.
So, it's a shame they've not brought that back in any of the more recent ones, because it becomes really challenging. I know it's challenging enough just doing 4 races in a row on 150 or 200 or whatever, but you really have to maintain that over whatever that is. What's that? 16 races you do. And looked great. Again, this era of Nintendo is you going from 64 where everything's kind of blocky, and now stuff's kind of starting to look like what you kind of imagine it to look like in your head, like what it was striving for in the past.
The art style that they still kind of have to this day, pretty much. Basically.
Totally, yeah. So yeah, I really mainly for the fact of spending a good amount of time with a guy who is still a very good friend of mine. Playing that in co-op.
Nice,
really good stuff.
Waluigi, baby.
2004.
3, 2, 1. Grab
Super
that
Mario, the
door,
1000
San
Year Door.
Andreas.
Yeah, all right.
I'm going to be quieter next time. You said the same thing, right?
I did. I will happily just talk about that game with you. I had a few honourable mentions.
Let's do Tommy first, I guess.
Yeah. I'll just throw out, because I won't get to focus on one. Far Cry came out that year and I fucking loved it. But Tommy, what was your game of the year?
Mine was Paper Mario, the 1000 Year Door on the
game's
GameCube.
sick.
People still talk about that in very high regard. That is well overdue for some kind of remaster, re-release. And yeah, just great. Hadn't played any of the other, never played the Paper Mario on 64 or the Super Mario RPG. And yeah, just funny little weird, different interpretation of this world that I had been kind of dipping in and out of for, a couple of, like a decade at that point, over a decade.
Yeah.
And yeah, humor's very kind of weird and Japanese, and like RPGs had kind of always scared me off, but this is similar to what I'm having with Mario Rabbids at the moment, where it just presents everything really cleanly and nicely, and you never lose track of what your abilities are and what you're able to do, and yeah, turn-based battle, but like cool art style, and yeah, great game. Really hoping that something happens with that in the near future, because I think there's a lot of people who've missed out on it.
Yeah,
I think you would really like it.
Yeah.
Paper Mario is a weird one in how much that's just like they've made them since, but
this is kind of the last
just
one. This is
never
kind
up
of the
to-
last really good one.
Yeah.
They made one for Wii where they brought in platforming stuff that people didn't really care for.
Right.
And the
Yeah, there was
3DS
one on-
one was a lot of, the start of it was really good, but a lot of repetition, and they just now are...
well, there was
they-
the Wii U one too.
The Wii
like
U
last
one,
year,
which came out right near the end, which again, people were like, there's bits of it that are okay, but it's certainly, none of it has reached the heights of just being very tightly... 1000 Year Door has like a really cool script, and it's the characterization, it's just all these really tight little elements, and now they put all these like weird little kind of gimmicks to the world instead of just have this interesting little quest that he's off on. Like in this, you accumulate a little party, and you have like a... You have like a kind of weird looking like off-brand Yoshi who's he's like a castaway sort of thing. You have like a lady Goomba who's like is in your little, and they all have different like attributes when they fight, and just it's just all really it's
full of personality and
full of personality, yeah. And now they seem to have this weird thing where like there's stickers or there's paint's been thrown all over the world, and it's like if they just need to strip it back and just keep it a bit more simple.
Totally agreed.
Great game.
I'm going to do the same thing and mention a couple. Half-Life 2 came out, but I've talked about that a bunch.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick that.
Yeah. And Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines
that was
is
also
real fucking good.
Yeah.
But San Andreas at that point was one of the best games I'd ever played.
Yeah, definitely.
Fucking the scale of that at the time was crazy because 3 and Vice City were both great, but this just like ramped it up in such a crazy way.
Yeah.
This was all my PlayStation friends at the time. This is inescapable.
Yeah.
This is all anyone could talk about.
It's such a cool setting, like early 90s LA basically, or like California in general.
Yes.
Because you went around an entire state,
Yep.
basically, which was pretty unbelievable at the time.
Totally. The level of customization for the character as well, like with you and Odyssey, Tommy, like I just like cosmetic customization. I think it's just, I don't know, it's adds some kind of weird level of personalization to the character you're playing. And
well, you and I are both playing Rayman Legends at the moment.
Yeah.
And you in that once you collect a certain number of the version of coins in the game, you unlock, there's 4 main characters that you can switch between, but you also unlock a bunch of just different color schemes of them.
Yeah.
So one of them dressed up as one of the other ones.
Yeah.
There's Rayman and Luigi, there's Mario and Luigi versions of Rayman and his little friend Globox.
Yeah.
And just, when I see that I've reached enough coins to unlock another one of them, I'm so I'm like, fuck it. Like it means nothing. It adds nothing to the game. It doesn't
Totally.
change how it plays.
Yeah.
But it's just, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think
that was the thing I always lamented about not being able to play the GTA games was
Yeah.
the dressing people up and the have haircuts always been a part of it, or is that more recent?
San Andreas is when it came in.
Oh, you could kind of change your clothes in Vice City. There were like 6 costumes.
Oh yeah, but
Right.
haircuts,
Yeah.
like haircuts and beards and like
Yeah.
all of the
fat
clothes,
or muscly or
Yeah,
skinny
right.
or
yeah.
a bunch of ridiculous. It was a real fucking kitchen sink approach.
Because there was like gang warfare where you'd take over like patches and then you have to defend it if it was getting attacked, which
could
also
go-
tied into bits of the story.
Totally, and then you could go gambling in casinos
Yeah.
in Vegas, whatever that was called.
Yeah.
Because it was San Fierro and Los Santos, and I don't remember what they called Vegas. New Ventura or something like that.
Los Ventura?
Los Venturas, maybe something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Jetpacks and flying planes around.
Jumping out of planes and parachuting, like BMX biking up a mountain and then jumping off the mountain.
A pretty good story driving it through.
Yeah.
Like, the LA stuff is all good, and then you kind of go and have all this weird shit happen in all the other places.
Yeah.
And like done with great voice acting and for the time, like really cinematic and just fucking huge and well produced.
Yeah.
The PS2 could barely handle it.
Yeah, right.
It was a lot of stuff of like you'd be in like an F-16 flying too fast and you'd crash into trees that hadn't popped in yet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I kind of liked that because they just went, no, we're going to do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even with 5, I don't feel like they've gone to the same scale as that felt at the time.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Agreed.
2005.
Oh, hold
Let's do it, baby.
Better get my,
2005, when I was 15 to 16.
All right.
Are we ready?
3,
Count us in.
2, 1.
Resident Evil 4.
Snake Eater.
Who wants to go first?
I heard you most legibly, Knox.
It's
That's
'cause-
always going to be the case, but yeah.
I also had the longest title, Metal Gear Solid 3.
Great.
Right.
That is still one of the most well-made or well-presented stories in a game to me. It's so fucking... It's a perfect middle ground between being a good sort of video game story and then Kojima's craziness on it
Right.
just enough to pop it up a bit,
Right.
but not make it overwhelmingly ridiculous like 5 was.
Sure. And 4, I found.
And yes, also 4 as well.
Yeah.
That's very valid.
Yep.
It looked great. It played great. It was just a fuckload of fun. There's not heaps to say about it. It's basically
Yeah.
the best Metal Gear game to my mind.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. This is another game where I was at a mate's house who had a PS2. He was playing a bit of it. I was like, that looks amazing. I wish I could play it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't have a PS2.
Oh, it was so fucking cool as well because for some reason I just hadn't read anything about it. I just didn't really know, and I got it one day. And the whole intro sequence, like you do maybe a couple of hours of sneaking through the jungle and stuff, and it does this big James Bond song, basically,
Yeah.
where
Great.
you know someone's singing about eating tree frogs and eating snakes and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool, like, oh fuck, I'm locked in for like the next 20 hours or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
It
right.
completely sold me on this.
Yeah.
And it has so many little, like, so much attention to detail all throughout that I kind of was in 4 and then not so much in 5.
Right.
And that was the thing that Kojima sensibility, I think, really added to those was that really, really pinpointy attention to detail.
Yeah.
That, yeah, at some point started to get lost. So, very good game. I don't know if it holds up still. I haven't played it in a long time.
Right.
I don't think, but I would imagine it would.
Yeah. I'll go now because I don't have a lot to say about this. Civilization 4. It's not even my favorite of the series. It just happened to be my favorite game of this
Of
year.
that year, yeah, right.
Civilization 3 came out in, I think, 01.
Right.
And that is my favorite of the series. I kind of remembered back and... but 4 is fantastic. I put a lot of hours into 4. If you like Civilization, you've played it. If you don't, then you don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the better franchises for that
Yeah.
sentiment.
I've tried most of them and just have never really clicked.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And that's fine, and you don't have to like. But that's the thing. Like, if you love Civ, then you've played it more than anyone should play any game.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
kind of game
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
Mine, and I've talked about it a lot before, Resident Evil 4.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
in my top 5 of all time.
Yep.
But
That's
yeah,
my runner-up boy.
fantastic. I haven't gone back to it very recently, but it just feels like one of those evergreen games where, the kind of progression of the industry and tech that goes on around it isn't going to make it any less good.
Yep.
I think it will
controls of it are
remain playable forever.
The
you know?
controls are so weird and unique
Yeah.
that you can kind of go back to it easily because it's not like it feels outdated. It just feels different.
Right.
And also, a friend got this for me on the GameCube for I think a number of years after it had come out, maybe for my 21st,
Right.
or for a birthday that I had, certainly. And this is still I'm a Nintendo diehard, and playing a game like this that's genuinely fucked up and scary and like mature this was kind of my first exposure to something like that. And I would go out of my way to fuck my shit up with it. I would sit at night in my room, lights off, and just really fucking go for it.
I also like how as that game goes on, it gets progressively stupider and wacky and like bombastic and dumb.
Right.
If you have access to the Wii version, that one's great.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to play it and can, because the Wii remote really, really works for it.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels great.
Can't recommend it enough. Really, really great game if
It's
you've
sick.
never gone in.
Very, very good.
Okay, 2006.
I was 16 to 17. 3, 2, 1.
New
Final
Super
Fantasy
Mario Bros.
12.
Mine's going to be the shortest. Can I just... I'll just jump in on mine.
Mine will also be short.
Oh, okay.
Mine's going to be 2 hours long.
Mine is New Super Mario Brothers on the DS. For the time, I'm so sick of those games now, but for the time, them bringing back the classic 2D Mario platformer and it looking cool and it looking very of the time.
Because there wouldn't have been a 2D one properly since technically like 1991 or something.
There had
Right.
not been since
With
Super Mario World. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like Yoshi's Island, sort of.
Yeah.
And then they redid
Yeah.
them on the GBA.
But yeah, this was great. I had really wanted a DS because again, I think this comes not long after me. So pretty much everything I've been talking about in the lead up to this year has been me not having a console. A lot of these I played in years past, but this was like, I think I had a good job at this point and went and got a DS with Mario Kart DS and New Super Mario Brothers, and just like I was like, yeah, I'm back. Like all this stuff that I'd been seeing about and like not being able to get my hands on, like I finally had the disposable income and I was like, great, I'm in. Not much to say about it. Fun new take on the Mario game that they've since driven into the ground a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, for
Yeah.
the time, a great move and a cool thing that they did.
I remember
Yeah.
liking that first one as well, but always getting annoyed by the wah, wah.
I've never
music.
liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never liked that aspect of it.
It's a really weird choice that they fucking stuck
That's
their guns
become
with.
canon now. Yeah, they seem to
Yeah.
think it's amazing and it's just no good.
It's so
Yeah.
strange. Mario Kart DS also great.
Wii Sports.
Oh,
is mine.
wow.
Yeah. So my only other honourable mention for this year is The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. But so my context for me is that up until now, I'd been playing all these games that I've been naming on a PC that was kind of a bit too shit to run them properly. So they were all kind of scaled down, all running probably a bit choppy. The Wii was the first time I could afford a console of my own, and I bought it. And I loved Wii Sports, and I played it basically every day.
Right,
It was just
yeah.
one of those ones where I'd be at uni or whatever, and I'd come home and I'd play Wii Sports, and I'd, jack off.
One of the bigger hole in...
Jeez.
I couldn't think of a funnier way to end that sentence.
No, you didn't need to.
It's
you picked
impossible
it.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wii Sports, they're one of the greatest holes in one in video games design. Like, doesn't do anything too over the top, but just the packaging it in, the message of what they were trying to do with it being so clear and so precise, you'd struggle to find too many more things that are that much of a bullseye, I reckon. And in terms of just everyone connecting with it.
Totally.
Everyone connecting with
I
it.
completely agree, and I never really liked it. It just never, like that, it never felt amazing to play with that original Wii remote.
I had a lot of fun with friends.
So-
I rarely played it by myself, but it
I
was
think that
just
might be
a solid one for people coming around in a quick. And it was the thing that everyone wanted to try out for themselves.
I
Totally,
never really did that much of that around this time, I guess.
Yeah.
Right,
So I was still living at home, and like me and my sister would play it a lot. My girlfriend at the time, like we'd play it. It was just it was something that was always fun to do of an evening. And
Have a nice jack off.
yeah,
Get out of here, girlfriend. I got business to attend to.
yeah, Wii Sports.
You playing tennis in there? No. I'm jacking off. Ladies and gentlemen, 100 episodes. It's been a wonderful journey. I tossed up. Oh, here we go again.
Nice. He's back.
Between a couple here. Zelda Twilight Princess wasn't actually really in the running, I don't think. But it just came out that year. 2006 seems like it was a light year a little bit.
Yeah, I really only had 2 games.
Gears of War I liked at the time, but Final Fantasy 12 I picked.
Right.
Because I haven't gone back to it since, and I should play that remaster at some point.
Yes.
I really liked it at the time. It was such a different direction and such a different kind of style of RPG to any that had really existed before. I remember the story being like a really cool, like political focused thing on this grander scale than a lot of the others had been, where it wasn't. Maybe because the characters were still okay, a lot of them, but it was less focused on characters, more focused on this grand world.
Right.
And I really liked the art design and all of that. And yeah, it was just a fun, long ass game that I don't think I ever finished.
Oh, right.
But
Yeah.
maybe I did.
Hey,
Hey,
who's to know?
who cares? Does anybody out there give even half of a shit?
Sweet.
Where are we up to?
2007.
2007. Okay, count us in.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Super Mario Galaxy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I heard Super Mario Galaxy real
Yeah,
loud. Let's go.
nothing more to say about it.
You only said the title.
Yeah, pumped for it to come out. I got a Wii a few months after it came out and got it with it. Not quite tied, but right behind it for that year, Guitar Hero 3,
Right.
which, I think I got in Christmas of that year, for Christmas of that year. And, so many hours sunk into that. And such a weird time capsule of a type of game that does not really exist now.
Yeah.
It was the biggest thing it felt like in the world at the time, and it is now
it's
just
crazy how
non-existent.
quick it came. It went up and down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 years of just like zoop. And Super Mario Galaxy though is a fucking rad game that is still very fun today if you can play it. What did you say, Ben? I didn't hear your one.
BioShock.
Oh yeah, I could have guessed that.
One of the best games of all time. A game that I didn't play when it came out. I actually played BioShock Infinite first.
Oh right, so this is fucking really recently.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I think that, maybe by this stage I had a Wii and not a PC that could play any games.
Yeah.
So I missed it when it came out. But my God, it's so good. It's that real example of a strong vision. Being allowed to be played out and being given the resources to do it properly, and
Except for maybe the very end.
yes, I will agree with that. But everything before that, the aesthetic, the tension, it was even when I played it, only a couple of years ago for the first time, quite tense and scary in moments. Really good art style.
It has a good way of doing like both sort of what's about to happen things, tension from that.
Yep.
And then also when it does throw some situations at you,
Yes.
they're fucking intense.
Totally
You've really gotta
overwhelming,
think on your feet.
Yep.
And I also had Galaxy and BioShock as my runners-up.
Nice.
To Call of Duty 4.
Right.
Which was fucking crazy good at the time.
Yeah.
And huge and like...
So Call of Duty 4 is Modern Warfare.
That's Modern Warfare 1.
Yes.
Basically.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's like the pinnacle of that series by a pretty far margin.
Agreed.
The way it changed up what multiplayer stuff was, because I played like a fair bit of Halo 2 and everything, but like had this progression that it did, and just the speed of the combat again was fast. That hadn't really been the case since like the sort of Quakes and stuff were big. The single player was so inventive and cinematic in a way that I hadn't seen a shooter be before.
Totally. I think that this is probably the benchmark that we've had with other games. This is the benchmark for shooters with a cinematic story. Like, I remember I played it again, I think just at a mate's house, but played it from the start where you're getting dragged out. It's like you're about to be executed and all this stuff's happening around you. It sets up the world. And,
it looked incredible at the time. It ran perfectly smoothly. there's like you die in a nuclear explosion at one point in it. You fucking it was so ridiculous at the time.
Yep.
And the multiplayer was pretty incredible as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ruined video games.
Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing is it's like going, no, but the first few cases of Ebola were great.
Yeah.
And then afterwards it started it's sort of the magic of penicillin that is now killing us in the future with the super bug it's creating.
That's right. Worth mentioning as well, Portal came out this year and Mass Effect 1, which are both fantastic games.
Yeah.
2008?
2008 now, as time marches irrevocably on.
Irrevocably.
Can you say irrevocably?
I don't
Because
think
you
so.
revoke something.
I believe it's irrevocably.
Write in and don't tell us anything about that because we don't care. 2008, 3, 2, 1. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
Are you just picking long ones?
I've gone through and just looked for the most distinct sounding of every... Yeah, no, it's just a long-ass name for a stupid fucking game. It's the most... Like, this is a very personal choice because I don't necessarily think
you got to say it again because none of us know what it is.
Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
Okay, great.
Yep. Is the full... I bought a PS3 for this fucking thing.
Right.
It's so dumb and objectively not the best game of that year.
Right.
I don't think, but I fucking loved it because it was so over the top and ridiculous and wanky and like so up its own ass, but in this, like, it made this crazy system of like that was only used in like the first 2 levels of different factions getting angry at you or being friendly with you depending on who you'd killed.
Yeah.
Kind of. And it basically didn't use it.
Yeah.
And it had like 100 different guns in it that were all like, these are completely modeled in the way the real world guns work. Great. I'm using 0 of them.
Yeah.
I'm using a silenced pistol.
It was fucking, it was so over the top.
This time frame feels rife for a lot of stuff like that where it's like, hey, it's got this.
Yeah.
Who cares?
This is the, like, I don't know what was happening in like the late 2000s, but it's a lot of like, it feels like someone's gone, you don't want to be fucking sick. You know, like this is just an absolutely way over the top game. It looked fucking incredible at the time.
I played this at the time, and I got a significant way further into this than I did 5.
Right.
Because of how weirdly idiosyncratic it was. I'd played 1 and nothing in between.
Yeah.
And it just it kept me along for the ride for a fair way because of just how weird, and it just kind of threw a lot of shit at the wall and a lot of it stuck.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And it completely falls apart for the back 3/5 in terms of the gameplay.
Right.
But most of it is just this crazy movie you're watching.
Yeah.
Which I remember the PS3, the joke was always like, it's a Blu-ray player at the time, and this game did not help.
Yeah.
But
I think I got to a couple of incredibly long cutscenes and tapped out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I was
fucking...
this because when I bought my PS3, I was looking at this on the shelf, going, "Oh, I've always heard these are good," but it just something about it just seemed a little bit like this is going to be a bit too much for you, little Tommy. You can't jump straight in from Mario into this.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
It is a bit too much is exactly how to describe this. But something about that really just clicked with me at the time.
Totally. Yeah.
Because of an unhappy relationship I was in.
Snake loves me.
What do you got, Ben?
Fallout 3.
Oh, yep.
Incredible game. A game that people still kind of hold up as better than being 4. I kind of like 4 about the same, but yeah, this was a great one. You kind of, I believe the start of the campaign or like the game is you kind of hit start and then it fades up. There's like an old 50s song playing on a radio and it slowly zooms out to reveal it's a radio in a bus that's broken down, and then it zooms out further and the city is fucked, and then this guy in a big fucking weird armor suit steps into frame. Boom, Fallout 3.
Which is pretty much literally the opening of the first 2 as well.
Yeah, right.
Which that was part of the crazy thing about this is that Fallout seemed dead.
Yeah.
That series, and then they brought it back for 3 in this weird way.
And so very similar to the Elder Scrolls games in the scope and the gameplay style, But yeah, like I just really like the aesthetic, the world.
Better written than any of the Elder Scrolls games, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Personally,
Totally.
just because it's a more interesting world than flat fantasy kind of stuff.
Yep, I liked the gameplay in terms of the first-person shootering. It had the VATS system, which slows down, basically freezes time, and for someone who is not really great at those kind of fast twitch FPS games, I certainly wasn't at the time because I'd been a PC guy and just playing on a controller was weird to me. That element of the gameplay really appealed to me. The story was cool. Liam Neeson was in it.
Oh, wow. Huge.
Yeah, just everything about it. The kind of weird, offbeat sort of sense of humor it had in some of it. The radio stations, the weird robots and shit. It was
A lot of that stuff is inherited from the first games as well. And
Right.
I know that people have some criticisms of the third one for kind of vanillaing that a little bit.
Yeah, right.
But I can't really speak to that because I didn't play much of.
I didn't play either of the first two, and I probably won't. But really liked Fallout 3.
All the
Great.
DLC for that was great too.
And the sequel, which I don't believe I will be featuring in
But,
my
yeah,
list.
New Vegas was cool.
New Vegas is basically the engine of 3 with a more interesting story.
Right.
But 3, really good.
My pick was Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yeah.
I had loved the original on the Nintendo 64. I had never gotten the GameCube one. I got a GameCube very late, secondhand, and just kind of picked a handful of games and never owned. I don't think I could ever find a pre-owned copy of this.
Right.
Of Melee.
Yeah.
But I remember Melee. Melee fleshed out what was there in 64. 64 only had like 8 characters or something.
Yeah, right.
And Melee fleshed it out and added in a couple of, sort of common sense ones like Bowser and Peach and whatever. And then Brawl, I remember just being obsessed with it in the lead up because there was this official website for it where the director would get on there like every couple of days.
He posts a new thing almost every day.
Yeah,
Right.
and sometimes it would just be very small, like, oh, you can listen to music in the options menu whenever
There's
you want.
this Animal Crossing trophy.
Yeah, but
Right.
then every now and then he would get on and go, Sonic's in it. Like, I've never seen anything else like it in the rollout of a game. Like, the impression that you got checking that every day was that this game was just going to be huge. And I don't think I even spent a ton of time playing it. I certainly wasn't playing it competitive. Like, by this point, I didn't really know many people who had a Wii. I certainly wasn't playing it much with friends. It did have those little challenge things that I really liked. Like, it had kind of a little... it was like, you're Mario and you have to fight 2 giant Bowsers. You know, they were kind of like, there was like a little story to like each battle that you were in. I went through that and I loved that aspect of it. But just in terms of this kind of, and this version is like not very popular in the community of Smash Brothers fans for being, I think, too slow is the criticism
And
of
there's
it.
you trip randomly sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it's too
yeah.
floaty and too slow, I think, are the problems, people.
Yeah.
It did change, not that I would really know, but the big criticism is it changed the feel up a lot from...
The competitive side of those games, though people seem massively into it when they are, is just not something
It's
that
just
most
a small
people
part
do.
of it.
Yeah.
I didn't care at all. I just, the wealth of this functioning is just like a Nintendo museum where you can play as King DDD and Diddy Kong is in it and Sonic is in it and Snake is in it. And oh, that's right. It had like a story mode that, again, people kind of did not like.
So I'll say now, if I didn't love Fallout 3 so much and it didn't appeal so specifically to me, this Super Smash Brothers Brawl would have been my game of the year.
Really?
I played it a lot. I loved the single-player campaign. I loved the challenges. I played a lot of this game.
Subspace Emissary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just a very nice way of unlocking all the characters. And they had these great fully rendered cutscenes where you would be the Pokemon trainer and all of a sudden Wario rocks up on a motorbike and there's a little movie of that. Like, it was just
And the sections in between were a side-scrolling beat-em-up.
Yeah.
Like, it was great.
I understand the criticism that the mechanics of the way it handles in terms of a fighting game doesn't super lend itself to platforming running around in that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of fair, like having to double tap to run and pushing up to jump instead of having a dash button and a jump button. I kind of get it. But yeah, I mean, for not really being into playing it competitively, like I was more than happy to sink my time into that and the little challenges and just having every Nintendo character under the sun and Wario finally being in it I was stoked about.
Yeah.
Just a real total just unashamed fan service
Yep.
from a company that has can do that, can just go,
Totally.
here's everything we've ever done and just
Yeah.
in one little fucking thing running around. It's like, great.
That
Yeah.
PlayStation one that came out around
Yes.
the same time,
Yes.
where it's like, and the guy from BioShock is
Yeah.
in it. He
Yeah.
was on the PS3, so that counts,
Yeah.
right?
I wanted this so badly, and this was around a time when stuff was still... It's only relatively recently that we sort of get things in all territories at the same time now. This came out in the States. For some reason, it was a big gap. It was a couple of months gap.
Right.
Which for having, like, looking at the website every day and obsessing over it felt like eternity. And I went and bought a imported copy of it from a shop called Dungeon Crawl in the city, where you also had to get a disc that you would put into your Wii first, and it would try and load that, and the disc would do something that would trick it into thinking that it was region free.
Oh, right.
And then I would put the Brawl disc in.
Right.
And then eventually a software update came out, and I kind of accidentally went, okay, and like it had just gotten rid of that, and I couldn't play it anymore. But yeah, had a lot of fun with that game.
So your game of the year, the region swapping disc,
Well, pretty much, yeah.
up until 2009, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
How about that, huh? Time bloody moves a bit quick, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Mm-hmm. 3, 2, 1.
Uncharted 2. Nice.
Oh, well, double team me here. What
All
are you?
Uncharted 2, we talked about it on a premium episode. By the way, this is turning into a great advertisement for our premium
Yeah,
episodes over
very
on our
much so.
Bandcamp, which you can find at filthycasuals.com.au.
Yeah.
Or you can get them all for free at a certain tier on our Patreon.
Yes. Yeah, all that stuff on our website. Yeah.
Look at us salesmen.
So this is the year, I believe, that I bought my PS3,
Yeah,
and
right.
it's been the first PlayStation-esque, Nintendo console game that I'd ever fully gone in on. And just, this was the perfect introduction to that kind of thing.
Yes.
It's still very linear. It's not overwhelming. It's just pure fun.
Yep.
And we've talked about it a lot. The stuff that you do in this game, I just couldn't believe I was seeing on a TV screen.
Yep.
So many bits in this where I couldn't believe this isn't a cutscene and I'm actually in control of this.
Absolutely.
Just great from start to finish.
Yep. Nothing more to add. Just fantastic. Probably the pinnacle of the series as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
Very
reckon.
fun game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, Batman Arkham Asylum was a fucking sick game that year.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely on my honorable mentions.
It sort of fit into a little bit of the design of Metroid Prime as well, of like you get these new items that would open new areas.
Absolutely,
And then had sort of a more modern version of that Prince of Persia recombat. So you can see the lineage here of and it did the best stuff with the Batman license that I think any Batman game has done to date still.
Absolutely, yeah, of the games. Of the movies possibly as well, arguably.
Yeah,
it's in like the top 2 or 3 visual interactive Batman
this is
things.
The year after The Dark Knight came out as well, so Batman was on top of the bloody world.
Yeah.
And expectations for any kind of Batman-related media, very high.
I don't feel like there had been a properly good Batman game at all, or really any fucking superhero game.
I was going to say there'd not been a good licensed game in a long time.
Yeah.
This really did turn the tide on that.
Oh, it was fucking great. Like the sneaking around and getting it just felt really good to play. It was kind of new ideas all mashed together, or not new, but like a lot of things that worked really well all together. It looked incredible. Really fun game.
Great.
And I played that all the way into 2010, which is the next year, which we will announce our games for in 3, 2, 1.
Super Mario Galaxy 2. Yeah, I've no doubt that would be mine had I played it, but I've never played it.
Yeah.
Mario Galaxy 2, more of the same, leftover ideas, but more than happy to just sure. And this again, we're sort of back into a period now where I'm not playing a great deal, so this may well have been just pretty much the only thing I did play.
Kind of a big expansion for one, but really good.
Yeah. Not much
Have
needs
we
to be
talked
said.
about Red Dead Redemption on the show in terms of reviewing it or talking about it at all?
I feel like we should maybe spend about 20 minutes that we've talked about it heaps. It's fucking sick.
Yes.
It looks great.
One of the best games of all time.
Incredible integration of music, I guess, is something we might not have specifically said.
I think we specifically have.
My most look forward to game of next year as well as
Yeah,
to that.
man, I've just
if it fucking actually comes out next year.
Yes. I really want to play it.
I also want to give props to Mass Effect 2, which was a very close contender.
Me too. Oh, so this is the year also that Fallout New Vegas came out.
Right.
God of War 3, Just Cause 2, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. All good.
And Picross 3D. In terms of hours, I probably played that the most.
Right.
Great.
Genuinely did poorly at a uni course because of it. Because, like, man, that fucking Picross 3D is sick. It's for the DS. It's like a type of puzzle game you couldn't do outside of a video game.
Right.
And it works really well.
Nice.
Great.
But yeah, Red Dead, everyone knows about Red Dead.
Go on to 2011.
2011 in 3, 2, 1.
Super Mario 3D Land.
It really sums each of us up this
Yep.
year, I think.
Yeah.
This is a real...
This is the year.
like where we Gwyneth Paltrow off in different directions.
This was our Rorschach test.
Nintendo boy.
Yeah.
Suck Mario's dick some more.
Yeah, Mario 3D Land. Great game.
Yep.
It is.
Had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. The
Yeah.
end.
My only criticism is that it was on the 3DS, which is a little uncomfortable to hold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really.
Well,
like,
I've got-
the stick was a little.
I think, normal-sized hands, and so I found it fine.
Well, I've got enormous hands of a logsmith. I believe that's what they're called. I mentioned I'm going to get pretentious, and that has made me forget the name of logger.
I don't think making up a name for something is pretentious.
Stupid means pretentious, yes?
Yes.
I'll just Dark Souls quickly. I've talked about that a bunch. But again, very intertwined sort of levels stuff. I think I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Having sort of geographic spatial puzzles like that. Not puzzles, but having to have that sort of spatial awareness of a thing, I think is something that really clicks with me.
Yeah, right.
The combat is so well made that even though it is really punishing, it's very satisfying at the same time. And bits of that game fall apart, but most of it is very creative and engaging.
Great.
Skyrim, kind of what I said about Morrowind, but with a
colder.
with a kind of less interesting aesthetic. Just my favorite game of that year.
It was because it was closer to just like sort of Vikings.
Yeah.
It was a little less interesting.
It was like the Lord of the Rings, but without all of the interesting writing behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
Peter Jones, again, who we mentioned before, can do a fantastic impression of NPCs in that game. Like he'll just go, "Hello there, traveler." Just all these like really generic lines that I
Yeah.
can't even think of, that somehow his brain is very good at coming up with generic dialogue. Speaking of generic dialogue, a lot of sitcoms in 2012 probably had some fantastic
Right.
work.
Good segue, buddy.
Let's say our 2012 one in 3, 2, 1.
Sleeping Dogs. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
I still
Yes.
haven't played that.
Really good.
It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
Hong Kong?
I'm yet to play a GTA at this point that this comes out. So this is kind of my first experience with an open world game where you steal cars and have gunfight outs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the aesthetic, the setting is just great.
Yeah.
just really looks and feels great. Very,
Totally.
like yeah.
And you can get that remastered on PS4 or Xbox
You
One.
sure
right?
can.
Yeah, the
Yep.
definitive edition.
Yep.
Again, it's sort of like Red Dead Redemption in that it takes this great kind of formula and gameplay style and puts a really interesting aesthetic over the top of it.
Yeah, and the story for
yeah.
what it is really good. Like
Yep.
there's constant kind of movement and progression, and you really feel the stakes because
Yep.
of the whole split between you're
Undercover cop.
an undercover cop and you're trying to infiltrate the triad at the same time. And
Right.
Yeah, which,
again,
like-
a great example of a thing where they try to point out to you like, you've got to keep the balance intact, or they might find out it's like, no, there's story missions that you just do, and that
Yeah.
dictates the path. Like,
Yeah.
you can't ever be. Video games are great for trying to make you think that there's some very unique thing going on that
Yeah.
that is more than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Does it play very differently to a GTA, or just the aesthetic is basically...
The driving is a little bit more like floaty or arcadey.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the combat style, the melee combat is Batman Arkham Asylum.
Right.
Yeah, I went back
yeah.
to it after playing GTA and found it very hard to control the cars.
Yeah,
Off the back of playing in that.
That's probably the one thing that doesn't hold up. But yeah, similarly to an Arkham game, you unlock different moves and combos and stuff as you go. There's kind of trophies and collectibles and all that kind of stuff.
It's very
yeah.
guilty for if you take a bit of time away from it and come back. I've found it extremely hard to get back into if I've taken, because all the melee moves, you just forget the combos and you go in and you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I've never really gotten into Hong Kong action movies, and I feel like that is something I want to do, and playing this game.
I was going to say that as someone who likes Hong Kong action movies,
Yeah.
it's really fun to play.
Yeah,
It also, having played, I guess, GTA 4 by this point, Sleeping Dogs had the kind of like costume customization and stuff that San Andreas had, and yeah, that obviously really appealed to me as well.
So weirdly, my one has, which I actually wasn't going to say, but I thought you were going to say Far Cry 3.
Yeah,
so I
right.
didn't say Far Cry 3, but that is a very, very good game
Yes.
that we've talked about a bunch.
Yep.
Max Payne 3, though,
Oh yeah.
has a weird sort of genetic history of Hong Kong action movie stuff.
Totally.
Because it's
it's the John Woo kind of thing.
Yeah, the first one especially was very much trying to do like a John Woo cross film noir cross
Yes.
graphic novel thing.
Yeah.
And this has a very different aesthetic to the first two of them, where it's more like this kind of he's in like this kind of drug hangover the whole time, and so it's kind of this more neon aesthetic and more of like a 80s kind of.
He is wearing a Hawaiian shirt a lot of the time.
Miami dead shit detective type of
Totally. He's in
movie.
like, it starts in Havana or somewhere.
And it just, the story bangs through in such a cool way. The shooting was great. It looked incredible.
It's the story is kind of Uncharted-ish. It's like in the way that it is presented and unfolds.
It's almost like a caper, but like
Yes.
a more
Yeah, yeah.
serious and depressing caper.
Yeah.
Which I guess is just like the capers you get in food. I don't like them. They're depressing. But so, and then it has like
bitter.
these flashbacks to New York that are really cool. And it just, the multiplayer was actually pretty fun because
Right.
the shooting was really well made.
Yeah.
In that game, it's weird that like GTA 5 and stuff afterwards, because this is Rockstar. The shooting was worse in GTA 5 than it was in Max Payne 3.
Yeah.
Which was weird. for
Yeah,
some
that's
reason.
strange.
It's
Yeah.
like you've made this better version of what you're doing.
Just graph that. Is that just like different development teams that aren't communicating with each
I
other
think
or
just a
something?
different
like,
focus. Max
Yeah.
Payne was
Yeah.
focused on the gunplay, and
Yeah.
GTA 5 was more,
Driving
accessible
and-
for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
kind
It's
of.
but it's a really great, very kind of Uncharted-y, but more like with its feet on the ground
Yep.
kind of a thing.
Yep.
And also the Walking Dead season 1 was great that year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Also,
it's-
Mass Effect 3, I liked.
Yeah. Speaking of zombies, though, we move into 2013 when the zombies rose up. 2013, 3, 2, 1. The
Grand
last.
Theft Auto
Infinite.
5.
Oh, we all picked a different one.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that was going to be unanimous.
I thought that was all of us going to be The Last of Us. But I
Yeah.
guess that's because my point of view is the correct one, and that's how I view the world.
So you mentioned this with it was with MGS4.
Yeah.
You kind of knew it wasn't the best game of that year, but it was the one that appealed to you the most.
Yes.
That's why I chose BioShock Infinite
Sure.
because I just love the art style. I love the weird, dumb kind of silly story.
Totally.
the
It's so
time travel-y
over the top.
stuff. It's so over the top, but like that turn of the century American aesthetic. I just love it.
I watched a little bit of it recently for some reason because I was like thinking about it, and I didn't remember how much they do lean into the like, and lo, the demon came from. But it works. It's cheesy, but it's deliberately cheesy.
Totally.
Did you play through the DLC things?
Yes.
They're great as well, and they
Awesome,
recontextualize the main game.
Yep.
In a really cool way that they're kind of the same to me.
Yeah,
You kind of
I'll
all
just
of them.
if I could talk about BioShock Infinite for an hour, so
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
I picked Grand Theft Auto 5. I don't know how I missed that on the list. So I was looking up. I forgot that Last of Us came out that year.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know which one I would put first. Maybe still GTA 5, just for the fact of it resonated with me so strong at the time because it's the first GTA I had played. So I'm going into it fresh, and all of that stuff is having loved Sleeping Dogs, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is the people that popularized that doing their next big thing of it. I liked the characters in it.
Talk about fucking staying power, that game too. Last month,
Yeah.
it was the second best-selling game of
Wow.
the month.
Yeah.
In August of 2017, 4 years after it came
Wow.
out.
Yeah.
That's
And
massive.
it's the best-selling game of all time.
Well, they're still
Yeah.
putting that online thing of
Yeah.
it is still
It's
going strong.
huge.
People still love it.
Yeah, it's basically if they made GTA San Andreas with modern technology and all that kind of what that would allow.
Honorable mentions: Super Mario 3D World, of course, and Luigi's Mansion 2 on the 3DS. A game
Yeah.
that I did not expect to like as much as I did, but it came out and I fucking loved it. It's
Nice.
such an underrated game. I don't know really. I don't think I know anyone else who's played it, and I really loved it. And
Yeah,
I hope they bring that franchise back on the Switch because it's when done right. And I never played the first. I think I rented the first one on the GameCube, and I remember people liking it, but feeling like it was very short. And then this was kind of like long and like had little chapters in it, and it's really great.
Cool.
Ni no Kuni also that year.
Oh, yeah.
Studio
Oh, right.
Ghibli movie style. Yes. Studio Ghibli movie style applied to a Japanese RPG, and it's really
the
really
second
good.
one's out next year, right now.
I think
They
so.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never played that.
Yeah.
But I like that there's a Welsh voice actor in it.
Yep.
I don't know why. Bioshock Infinite, I gave a cheeky wink of the cap to.
Yep.
And Zelda: A Link Between Worlds was fucking rad.
Oh, yes,
The
that is
3DS
great.
one.
I got to play more of that.
The Last of Us. Again, we've talked at length about
Oh
it
yeah, I
elsewhere.
didn't even bother to
Yeah.
start talking about it because I've been very clear about why I like that game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's very good.
I guess maybe people don't realize this, but on the Uncharted bonus premium thing we did, we talk about The Last of Us at the end, and
Yeah.
we talk about it for quite a while.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in what we think,
And
go
Crash
there.
and Jack and Daxter.
Yes.
is
Yeah, yeah,
also,
yeah.
all of Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, Last of Us, great, fantastic story, well directed, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah. 2014, we're getting close.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 2014, eh? You know what they say about 2014, eh?
I'm offended.
3, 2, 1.
threes.
New order.
Or threes.
I'm being slightly facetious. I just saw it just tickled me. On the list I was looking at that
Yeah.
that came out that year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, for pure hours sunk into something.
Yep.
But apart from that, Mario Kart 8 on the Wii
Yep.
U, great game, as we all know. Another two that I liked having played, I think after the fact, Monument Valley on iOS was great, and Shovel Knight came out that year, which
Right.
I played at the start of this year and have a great deal of affection for.
Yeah, nice. Wolfenstein: The New Order.
I got a little cheeky wink of the cap to that.
Yeah,
too.
which
A wink of the cap.
Mario's cap. It's got eyes on it.
Ah,
Yeah.
possessed me.
Yeah, that.
No, I shan't. I will, whatever the other word was.
So you loved Doom, Nox,
Yes.
and Wolfenstein: The New Order, kind of the exact same style.
Yeah.
They took an old 3D FPS and made it this kind of fast-paced cinematic shooter, and yeah, I love it. Still, I think it holds up. It's just really fun.
Yeah.
Kind of silly, but kind of serious.
Totally. Like, it's hard to be not serious when there's heaps of Nazis in your game.
Yep.
There's a certain tone that needs to be hit then.
But also, you
then-
go to a moon base.
And like, oh, here's Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good game.
Yeah.
Captain Toad Treasure Tracker gave another little wink of the cap.
Oh, that's great.
I actually gave a bunch of winks this year as well. Destiny, Far Cry 4, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Alien Isolation.
Which is the one that I picked to be the big old capital letters.
Yep.
Because fuck, it came out of nowhere for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a particularly huge attachment to Alien,
Right.
the series of movies. This is a licensed game being made by a group of people who they were the Total War people, I think.
Yeah,
so
right.
they hadn't really done a game in this style, and
Yep.
they fucking nailed it.
Yep,
the look
agreed.
of it is incredible. The way that they've done the 70s vision of the future thing
Mm-hmm.
is so well done. It's so tense and scary.
Yes.
With the alien chasing you around, it learns what you do, and it's super smart.
I don't know if you read this recently, Nox. The alien has two AI brains. One that knows where you are.
And it gives clues to the other one.
Yeah.
It's really cleverly done because it really feels alive and
Yes.
like it's chasing you.
Yep.
The androids were just everything about that game I thought was incredibly well done. I didn't think it was too long, which was the big criticism about it for some fucking reason.
Yeah, right.
Because it remains creative the whole way out. It keeps giving you new stuff to do in new
Absolutely.
situations.
This is a game that I couldn't finish because I was so scared of it.
Yeah, right.
So I watched a playthrough to the end, and it remains.
Usually I watched a play instead.
I watched a play through to
Just
the end.
went and checked out a bit of a Mice and Men, and boy howdy, what an ending.
That George, eh? But yeah, it's visually, it's so well designed.
This was the first game that really looked very next-gen-y to me.
Right.
Just something about, I don't know why.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Destiny as well, I suppose. Both
Yeah.
look really...
Yes.
But yeah, it's fucking great, and I think a lot of people didn't give it a chance when they might have liked it. If you do
Agreed.
like Bioshock and stuff like that,
Yeah.
this is probably up your alley too.
Yep.
Right.
And then, speaking of alleys,
And this is the last one we're going to do.
we're going to come out of this alley and into the beautiful, wide open space of 2015 in 3, 2, 1. The Witcher 3
Sadness.
Wild Hunt. Again, I picked the longest one, so I'm going to start.
Yeah, great.
The Witcher 3 is fucking rad. It is the best open world game in terms of how fleshed out everything is in that world and how present you feel in it. Like, just the way they did fucking wind in that game made you feel like this Nordic chill all the time. It looks and sounds and is built in a really good way.
Yep.
Great.
And
Nordic Chill, name of my aftershave, anyway.
oh, nice. I'd smell that. It'd smell like a
I'd smell that. Great.
like a Viking rope on a boat. Like, is it the smell I'm
The
imagining?
Witcher
You know what I mean?
3 and series in general is probably something that deserves more airtime on this show than it's got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think I like it okay, but you love it and most people love it.
Yeah, the 3 especially, and they've said they're done with The Witcher now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but that's okay because I'm really looking forward to their next thing they're doing, which is like a futuristic cyberpunk thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Which could be cool. But yeah, just the writing in the game is incredible. It looks great. It feels, the combat and stuff is good. It's huge, but it's interesting throughout. It's just as close to a concept of a perfect game I could have had in the year 2000 when we started this
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Also, shout-outs to Bloodborne. And did you say Rocket League?
No, but I was going to.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
What did you end up saying?
Splatoon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, just fun. New Nintendo property. Single player I found really fun. Put a lot of time into the online, something I'd not previously ever really been into. And yeah, I just like that game. And yeah, that's kind of neck and neck with Rocket League. I didn't really play a lot in this year. I just kind of looking at the list of what came out. I kind of missed most things. So I think just something coming out on the Wii U was a thrill. And yeah, also when I finally got around to playing Rocket League. Oh no, that's what it was because I didn't. No, I don't. No, that's right. That's what it is. I didn't get a PS4 until the start of 2016. I don't think.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I kind of
Right.
missed a lot of stuff around that time.
Yeah, just the thing of like, it was a thrill to have something come out on the Wii U.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. Yeah.
So this has worked out pretty nicely. My game of the year for 2015 was Mad Max, the open world car combat game, which is a game that I reviewed on the first episode
Very
of this
first episode of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. If things had gone correctly, I would have been saying Metal Gear Solid 5. But
Oh, well.
guess not.
But yeah, I stand by it. That initial review, which was really positive, despite the fact that most people were kind of not for it.
Just like tepid on it. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone hated it. It was just
Yeah.
sort of that thing of a bit of a saturation of that type of...
Yeah, I guess so.
I have
Open
started to
world.
see in the last couple of years a lot of people catch up to you though. Over
Yeah.
the last 2 years, I've gradually seen more and more things
Yeah.
pop up, like little articles of like, oh, here's the game from a couple of years ago that everyone missed.
Yeah,
you should check out.
like it was $8 on the PSN at one
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
But if you still haven't played it, I really do recommend it. Visually, it's beautiful. Like the level of care and detail put into like the sunsets and the cloud formations.
Yeah.
For a game set in a desert in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's really, really stunning, and has the combat of the Batman games. Really fun car combat as well, and a good enough story.
Right.
Great.
Like the Mad Max movies.
yeah.
Well, bloody speaking of good enough stories, I think we've spun a pretty medium tale of our last however many years that was in games.
15. Guys, thank you for listening to this episode 100 of Filthy Casuals, and thank you for listening every week and sending us all your stuff. It goes without saying, would not have bothered to have done this for long if people weren't engaging with it in some way. So thank you, especially if you've been there from the very beginning or near the beginning, and endured those weeks where we just didn't do the show for no reason at all, or one of us would not be on it, or that one where we each recorded a thing on our phone and stitched them together, and then we listened back and went, let's never do this again. Yes.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, like we all do a lot of kind of different projects and different things, and we're all kind of very busy. But I'll say personally, like the level of feedback and engagement we got from the start is really the thing that motivates me to do this.
Yeah, this is the
so
most.
nice.
This is kind of the most satisfying of the things that I do, in that I get to do something that I love every week, which is play games and feel like that. Part of what I wanted to start this show, it sounds like we're wrapping it up, like forever.
We said 3 digits and then we're out. That's it.
The main reason I wanted to start the show was because I enjoyed talking games with you guys, but also because it sometimes is hard to justify fitting in the time for a leisure activity. And I went, well, if I do this thing where I talk about it, then I have to play the games. And it has worked out great. And the fact that we get to go and do cool stuff like go and play Mario before other people is insane.
Yeah.
And that is only because of, you can't get that sort of stuff by just writing in and saying, I do a thing. It has to appear like you have clout and like you actually are a legitimate thing, and that would not be possible without you guys listening and sharing it around and writing into us. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And I personally could take it or leave it.
We should mention once again, yes, the Patreon. Thank you to everyone. Still a bunch of donations coming through. If you want to support the show, if you want to see us do video content, we have a target that once we hit it, we'll start making videos. Yes, greatly appreciated everyone who is sending that stuff in. And the first of our book club episodes will be coming out soon. Yes, the premium episodes, the Bandcamp, where we've done a bunch of franchises that we touched on here. Zelda, we've done GTA, Uncharted, Naughty Dog, and then a bunch of just kind of other themed ones. Where if you liked us doing this kind of list thing, that's very and longer format. This is kind of this. If we didn't have our 100th episode, we probably would have done this as a Bandcamp one.
Yes,
it's fair to say.
Yes.
So get on and check them out. filthycasuals.com.au. Thank you very much for listening. Happy birthday, Adam Knox.
Yes,
Thank you.
And as we say at the end here of every episode of Filthy Casuals,
here's to 100 more, baby. We're going to live forever. That was a little too Rick and Morty.
It was so Rick and Morty.
Sorry.
You needed a physics degree to get that joke.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.